guards.
Oh, okay. It's a pretty nice store.
Real nice.
I finally went in there the other day.
A lot of stuff in there.
This conference will now be recorded.
We'll start this meeting off with flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You listed this on the website as a work session, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we are in a work session this morning. Do you have anything you want to start off with, Tina, or should I just
Nope.
turn it over to the people in charge here?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Fellas, you guys, this is one of your jobs you guys tackled, and I'm gonna step back and what needs to be said, you guys just go ahead and say it.
I do want to, if I could, just remind everyone, please, to speak into your microphones, because sometimes people have been having trouble hearing commissioners speak. So,
Thank you for that, Laura.
yes.
That one. Don't do it again.
I didn't shake my finger or anything.
Didn't call any names.
So, which one of you two would like to lead off this here?
Well, Jonah did all the legwork, so be all right if I give like a 5-minute walkthrough material, and
Yeah,
and we can go.
Dave,
And we're what?
Dave was with me and down in Newton too, so I mean, yeah, there was.
As we work through the different information. Well, packet was sent out with a little background information. Start off with the flow chart. I think that's probably the most concern of elected officials and a lot of other people, of how the flow actually works. So you can see what Jonas put together. It's from Franklin County, but it applies to several other counties. You have your citizens, and then they are over all the electeds, which includes the County Board of Commissioners. The administrator then comes underneath the Board of County Commissioners and oversees 11, 12 departments that are appointed. So we want to make it very, very clear from the very beginning that a county administrator, manager, whether it be part-time, whether it be full-time, does not have authority over the elected officials. Now, that doesn't mean they can't agree to work together to provide efficiencies or improve communication. But we want to be very clear that if there is an administrator manager, they do not have authority over elected officials.
That is a very misunderstood
Yes.
item or subject that people don't understand, either about the county commissioners or the administrator even.
Yeah.
Correct.
And this is what makes county administrator unique over municipal administrator, hospital administrator, utility administrator, manager. All our other CEOs and managers, whether it be city or other entity, they oversee the whole department. The county is unique in that we've got elected officials in the county, and then the county commissioners oversee the appointed department heads.
Best way I can explain is it's a executive secretary. I mean, that's the biggest, easiest way to understand it.
Right. And as you get, we'll get into the duties and roles, but their role is to carry out the directive of the county commissioners. And that's what I want to really emphasize, and I probably should have started at this point, this whole discussion in no way reflects upon the current operations. I mean, Tina, our county clerk's doing an absolutely fantastic job, but she's also doing about 3 jobs. And we're looking at the long-term operation of the county and efficiencies. And in no way want any of this discussion to reflect on our current, because our current county clerk is doing an absolutely fantastic job, but she's also doing a number of things that are not in her job description.
Right.
And putting in a lot of hours. So I want to make that very clear too.
Yeah,
Okay?
I'm letting you guys.
All right, then we can, we
I-
kind of go through the material, and then we'll work through
Yeah.
questions and pros and cons, and there's plenty of concerns. The next 2 pages, the first one is Miami County Administrator, kind of a description of what their responsibilities are, what they oversee, what they do. The second one is Dickinson County. Dickinson County is a little more unique in that they not only have an appointed county administrator, they also have an appointed financial officer.
That works under the administrator.
Yes. So not only management and administrator, but also a chief financial officer for the county.
Did you research that any, how that works with the commission then?
I didn't think we were really gonna get into the
Okay.
financial side.
Okay.
The comments I've always heard before, or the commission's very happy with working within the framework, and let's maybe concentrate on the management role and not be I think there's enough discussion or concern about one person, that the 2 positions was really out of the realm
Yeah.
of the discussion at this point. Focus on one position for management and move, see how that discussion goes.
I bring up, did any of you make it to their open house? They finished their $15 million jail / courthouse renovation, and they had an open house. I was gonna go, but I couldn't. Saturday.
Saturday, wow.
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
They've been working on it for
Wow.
10 years.
Yeah.
Not the construction, but
Yeah.
the overall concept.
I didn't know it was complete. The next page, we have a map of counties that do have appointed county administrators. You can see we've got the counties on 3 sides of us. Butler, McPherson, Dickinson, Saline.
Didn't find an updated map.
That's 2015, I believe.
But I think it's even more than that now.
Right.
I know that Russell County now has an administrator, which is a county of similar population.
To ours. Actually, a little bit smaller from what I thought. I think they're about 9,000.
Well,
I mean, it's similar.
Other than Russell, there's only 2 or 3 more small towns, I think, in that county.
And nationwide, I think it's 43% of counties have administrators. Obviously, you got the gamut.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
tens of millions of population to, I think the one county has 400 and some people, they do not have a manager or administrator.
And different forms of government
Yes,
too.
yes,
I mean,
yes,
there's
and
many
we-
different forms when you
Yes.
talk United States.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
very,
Yep.
probably got the same roles as what, but just different titles and things, and
Right.
the way they operate.
Right. But I thought the map was, that Jonah had was very helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of. And finally, there's a research report that was done by the Kansas Association of Counties. It was done in 2000, it's the year 2000, so it's a little out of date. We were hoping we could get something a little more current, but that's kind of when the big push was, when regulations became more complicated, when all the responsibilities became more intertwined, more counties went to administrators to help work through all those rules and regulations. So there's a lot of good information in there that's still applicable today. I thought it was good, and Jonah had thought it was good information for us each to look through and help understand.
That's the rest of this.
Right.
Yeah, there's a
About
job
10.
description at the back.
And there's a job description.
But it's something we'd have to make more towards what we would need.
Right, a job description would be tailored. And that's what then in the last, it's actually on a separate one, is a county administrator management discussion summary. And that one I like to put things on one page to kind of summarize things. If you have that sheet,
Yeah, that.
there you go. I tried to summarize the duties that most counties would assign to a manager, administrator.
The Word document. There, yeah.
second attachment.
It is kind of interesting though, and it may have changed since 2015, but there's still some counties with fairly large populations that, I mean, it may have changed by now, but I don't see Ellis County on there. That's a county that's got 30,000, you know, but like I said, they may have more now.
Yeah. But basically, you're looking at planning and research, budget preparation, prepare, update, and enforce county policies, public information officer, supervision, coordination of appointed departments, assist elected officials, seek efficiencies, quality services, human resources, that's a question mark, and a lot of these depend on what the commission wants to assign. And finally, grant search and writing. A number of people have hit me up about that. It'd be nice, be very helpful. It should be a position of the pay, you know, having someone with more time to dedicate to grant.
With this knowledge how to write a grant.
Right, and the connections. A lot of it's just connections and knowing where to look.
Yeah.
Pros, better informed decision by the commission, efficient operations, improved services, coordination, cooperation, communication, financial savings through grants, programs, partnerships, and increased opportunities for the county. Under hurdles, I missed the big one, but I started with cost, space, change. Change is always a hurdle. And then I was reminded in a phone call that there was an election. And I had not thought of that because I wasn't involved at that time, but there's some history, and then you guys have to help me work through that, but that can be considered a hurdle, I guess. Different things to be thinking about. And then finally, options. Obviously, one option is the full-time administrator and support staff. Second option would be a part-time administrator, and another option would be a contract manager. And it doesn't have to be a full-time administrator manager. I mean, there's many different forms it can take. So what it comes down to is, does some form of administration or management make sense? And if if some form of management does make sense, which option best fits Marion County? And what responsibilities would the commission assign? If it does, do you want to hear from other resources like Kansas Association of Counties, perhaps consultants? Things we need to do is develop a job description, research space. And then, of course, the key is finding the right person. And how do we find the right person? But it comes back to, does some form of administration management make sense? So I think that's our 10-minute pitch.
You know,
Let the questions begin.
do county administrators in Kansas have their own working group, or do they just work
Yeah.
with city managers and everything else?
There's a separate one.
Yeah, the Kansas Association of Counties has an administrator association.
Yeah.
So. I mean,
And there's a municipal association.
I've got it pulled up on KAC. I did look up, Ellis County does have an administrator. So I'm just.
Good.
Just.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's why I've been a little
You're
bit
the
quiet.
techie.
I was looking out in western Kansas and thinking, oh, some of those counties have bigger populations.
And again, since in 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years it's changed.
Are doing that because they see the advantage,
Sure.
better opportunities for the county, efficiencies, and in the long run, cost savings.
Not only that, in this job, there's just a change of general attitude in the last 20 years. Some of your departments, some of your things that's going on, that's different, that's changed, evolved.
Culture?
Culture, something to that effect, yes. And so I think it's a different, as we progress through time, that you never rule anything out. You you always look ahead, and I think that's what, you just said it though a while ago, Dave, that this is a step in the future. If not so much for current, but it's a step for the future. That's how I feel about it. I mean, I've been somewhat against it without being prepared. I think that is the biggest thing we must do is prepare for it. Yeah. If that's the way, we did have an election, but there was some things thrown at us in the last 3 years that's changed. We got 5 commissioners. They got, you know, that was, well, that, we didn't prepare for that. We didn't know how the county was going to be divided. And when we come down to it, it was sort of a numbers game. It really wasn't localities, because your area, Dave, and my area go from one side of the county to the other side. And the others is pretty still tight-knit. Dave Crowfoot's got a little bit stretched out, but the others are pretty tight-knit in their areas. And so, but the numbers created that. And so, so anyway, that's what I'm saying, preparation. That's what we want to be on board with, is preparation to do this. So what is the next, you gonna take us through some more, Jonah?
Yeah, well, like I said, we did go down to meet with the administrator in Harvey County. Brought a lot of valuable advice. You know, they had administrators since the 1970s. Remember, Dave?
I think you said 74 or something.
Gene Christensen was the first one, yeah.
Yeah, and back then, you know, it wasn't what it is today. I mean, it's evolved. There's a lot more things. Their population's a little bigger. I mean, they've got, I think, he's got 6 staff right underneath him, I think he said. I mean, that have been above and beyond just your road and bridge and other items. So they've brought in some financial people, and I can't remember but you know, I approach it just like any business, because that's the area I'm from. He brought up a key point on, you know, what normal situation you would have when you operate something that has 100+ employees, almost 200. So, you know, it's changed. It isn't a smaller organization. It's getting bigger. It's
One of the comments that I received from an individual once that kind of caught me off guard. He said, how do you manage that many businesses? And I said, what? He said, well, each department is a business.
yeah, each one is.
He said, there's not very many people in the world can manage that many businesses.
Yeah. That's I don't know. It is, from my experience at the city, it is very beneficial to have somebody that works directly for the council. You know, it separates some things out, and a lot of the research material is done, and smaller. This is what you need to know. It brings it down to something like this, which, you know, I feel we get a good percentage of, but is that really her job? So.
Well, it's no different than the way I look at it. I mean, it's good for us to know what our infrastructure and our roads and everything are, but we all find ourselves, so-and-so called, you gotta come down here and look at this ditch. And
there's still.
can I tell that person, oh yes, it needs to be redone tomorrow?
Okay.
You know,
Well,
that's all part of Road and Bridge's plan, and yeah, I'm guessing even if we have a manager or whatever, we may still get some of those calls, but you know, I got caught, you know, it's just like one of our road closure things that's come up now. You know, I can drive out there and get a perspective on it, but I don't have the same perspective of those people that have to use it.
But it's just, it brings a full-time handling of a situation where we got 5 part-times here, which we would be fine if we all had a exact alike mind, and you worked on Monday and I did Tuesday, you did Wednesday. You know, it would be just hunky-dory, but that isn't the way it goes. It's more of somebody that has a direction from the commission, whatever that general consensus is, and keeps that in play.
Well, the commission has an important role bringing input from the citizens. That's our role, and oversight. At the same time, we all have full-time jobs, other responsibilities. We're here, you know, a few hours here and there during the week. The management role or administrative role would assist us, as Jonah was saying, in making better decisions and finding priorities and taking duties that are assigned by the commission and carrying them forward. So there's still the important role of oversight, but I think the mission gets accomplished more efficiently, more directly, better, maybe cost savings, better quality. And it's just, I go back to all the, okay, Jonah comes from the city, I come from co-ops mainly. So, okay, grain co-op, we have board oversees grain co-op, we have manager oversees co-op. Do you think you really want the board of directors of the co-op managing the co-op? Marketing the grain, saying, well, yeah, this facility gets improved, this one doesn't. No, we need a manager or rural utility, electric company. You're not gonna have board members out there chasing pipelines or looking at meters. No, you hire a CEO, and then they carry out the duties delegated. Rural water, you could go down the list.
Well, I think where I see us getting way behind is right there.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, we know that it needs to be addressed, but 6 months from now, we can
Right.
look at it and say, yeah, we know it needs to be addressed. And for some things, it's been more than 6 months, it's been a couple of years.
Right, but it's not right to just keep assigning them to Tina, the county clerk. County
Right.
clerk, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this.
And honestly, we have no authority to do so.
And really, you are exactly correct.
Yeah.
Tina could say, no, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do it. But again, looking at long term, if we're going to accomplish things we as a commission want to accomplish on behalf of our citizens, we need to do it in an efficient manner. And people in these seats are gonna change, people in that seat are gonna change.
But people in that
And then
seat
it
change.
comes, and then it comes, and then it comes down to, if you get the right person, it's gonna be great, and if you get the wrong person, oh my goodness.
Absolutely, the person is absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's key. I mean,
Yeah, that's why I prioritize the
Yeah.
decisions. The first one is, do you want to do something? How do you want to do it? And then you've got to find the right person to fill that role. That is absolutely critical.
Yeah, I got a question on that. Is the administrator hired a year at a time, or can they be let go at any time?
I think it could be let go at any time, but there'd probably be a severance.
Oh, yeah.
Contract.
Yeah, they'd be working,
Contract.
they'd be
So
working
they got
under
a 3-year
contract.
contract yet to line up.
You're talking about
If the commission votes for a 3-year contract, they may not, you know, depends on,
Yeah,
I suppose, I mean, I don't see no reason why you couldn't have a 1 year or 3 year, however the commission feels. I mean,
Exactly.
however, whether they want to stick their neck out, way out, first time around, or whether they want to keep it to where they might be able to put the hatchet out. So,
depends on how good the guy is selling himself, I guess.
yes.
But what if you think the right guy, but you only wanna offer a 1-year contract?
Well, that's the point you
Sometimes
get to.
you have to stick your neck out a
Yes,
little bit.
yes.
And hope you're not right.
And it may not
Hope
be a
you're
guy
wrong.
either.
Right.
It can be a lady just as much as it can be a person.
And that
Anybody.
first person is going to have a
Oh, yeah.
challenge. I mean, they're going to have their hands full, set things up. There's going to be change, and not everybody's going to like the change.
That's just it. I mean, you have to create a culture right off the bat with the departments.
That's, you know, and that's where I kind of lean to is, so somebody that sets up, that doesn't really plan to be here that long, just because it's gonna be an adjustment, but they get it up and running for the person to step in and really shine that way, to take the heat off of that real initial person.
Well, there's consultants out there, that's exactly what they do. They find administrators for cities, they find administrators for counties, try to match up the right skill set for what they're going into. And there's two schools of thought, like Jonas said. One is someone to come in, set it up, leave, the next person come in. And there's the other school that let them build it and move forward with it. Pros and cons both ways. But the key would be, if you do the full-time position, that you get the right person, and to do that, you're gonna really need to use a consultant.
Yeah, I don't think you.
But you could also transition from part-time to
Exactly.
full-time.
And that's why we have the options in place. Does it make sense to start with a management contract with someone, or a part-time position, and then evolve into, which would be part of the setup? And that would maybe be a little easier transition for citizens and for our employees. And there's a lot of options.
Yeah, it's still a sell to the taxpayers, though, that it's
Sure.
an investment, not an expense.
Exactly. Ken, you hit it on the head. It's an investment. It is, because I see it as having a huge return.
Now, let's go down this flow chart that you have here,
Mhm.
and let's start with where you have building grounds and human resources, and we have 11 different boxes or so, and then we have some sub boxes under that.
Right.
And once you do start making that move or something to that effect, how do you expect some of the departments to react, the department heads, because they've had their direction for a long time. Some don't want us to know their direction sometimes. And so how would you expect that to coerce once you made the decision?
My own personal opinion would be, if I'm a department head, I'd welcome talking to one person several times a week than a body of people once a month.
Right.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
But-
No.
Well, and then also with the body of people changing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Dave,
Uh,
go ahead.
Well, I think Marion County is in a unique situation, because most of the department heads I visited with are for it. I've found nobody who says hell no.
Yeah.
But maybe I haven't talked to the right person yet. But
Yeah.
So I think, we're gonna have to battle one with the department heads.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them have worked with administrators, and some of them know how to be helpful to them, make their job easier.
And the word cut, when the word cut comes out, and the body here tells the administrator, we gotta make some cuts.
It's up to them to determine. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, this county hasn't cut. We've always added. We've tried a few cuts and even had some people just retaliate and not even fulfill an opportunity for a person to shine and move on and be more expandable, but they felt out of place because it was being moved around. And that's, I'm just referring to clerks. You have clerks and they have their assigned duties, like under the clerk, the treasurer, and some of the other departments. And when they need help, they've always done a great job of lending people. But when you try making a move that versifies, maybe one department has a clerk that needs some more hours to make that job worth fulfill, that's when we run into some problems with some of our employees. And so, those kind of things has happened here already, and I'm just alerting the board here that that's the kind of things that I see, well, we can tell the administrator, you do the job. I mean, it's,
You still gotta give them a direction.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
answer to the board.
And so those kind of things would be different to handle than the way we've tried. And one that I know of particularly just didn't work out when it was trying to, what we thought was helping to maintain a job, it went the other way. And so,
Well, what I noticed with an administrator, it isn't so much you tell them to make some cuts. It's okay, it's budget time. You're getting this much money. You can't make it fit, then you're gonna have to make some cuts.
yeah.
And that's usually how that works. It's more, puts us back on the power of the purse side and lets them kind of manage side. It keeps you working for your constituents in a way. It's,
And that's good, except when we do that,
Right.
let's cut off the blue half up there and go back to the green half up there. The first one's out of underneath the citizens. That's when you run into the problem, because you have a sheriff's
yeah.
decision, that county and state decision that all sheriffs revert back to. And so I don't know so much about the clerks or some of the other elected people, whether they've ever had a situation like that. But all of our people has always worked with us, even the sheriff, and trying to maintain the budget and stuff. But things could happen that the administrator don't make no rules for them. And so
And that's the way the graph shows it. Yeah, flow chart shows it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
You know, you have to remember the elected officials, they're the ones that have to face the taxpayer.
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter if you're.
Sometimes that's worse than face the administrator.
Well, it could be. Yeah, could be. Yeah, could be.
But there should be some opportunities for elected officials and their departments to work with the administrator.
Oh,
to
yeah.
find efficiencies and help out their offices, just like they help out the appointed offices.
Well, and Harvey, he did say that, you know, it's they work together really well,
Mhm.
and it's more of, I'm not over you or you over me, but we work together, and when you need help, I need help, back and forth. The only thing he asked was that not to be first hearing about something during a commission meeting.
Yes.
He said that's the only time he's had any problem with anybody.
Yeah, I'm not hearing things, yeah.
Yeah, prior to having stuff ironed out and ready to go for the meeting.
I'm not gonna say anything about but I had a visit here last week, and the person asked this question: if I'm an elected person, how do I work with at this time, how do I work with the commission if I wanted to raise my department's wages? And so that was an interesting question, because I said, well, I would hope you would bring it to the commission and explain why and stuff, but if you had the administrator right there too, you would have to, would they bring that all through the administrator then, or would they?
They don't have to. That's the beauty. I mean, they're an elected official, so they don't have to. They can come straight to the commission.
Mhm.
But that's just gonna cause grief.
Well, I understand, but that's the way this person is looking ahead, and they wanna, who knows in today's world what wages we may have to pay to employ people.
You know how to head a claim.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. I heard some air.
oh, you did?
Well, contribute to the discussion.
Well, I mean, we do have an established pay plan that's been adopted for the entire organization.
Yes.
And even the employees of elected officials are subject to that plan.
But that may not be good enough. I mean, that's what I'm reverting to. This is the future elections are coming up, and so.
Counties are a bit of a hybrid versus like cities. In that, and again, the difference between management and administration are two very distinct, different operations as well, to some extent. But that separation that exists, whether it's manager or administrator, for those elected officials will always exist. However, the way the statutes read, you set the budgets. The power of the purse that Jonah was talking about is what you do. Now, you are required to fund them at an adequate level for them to be able to do their job. Now, therein lies a significant difference between what you think that should be and what an elected official running, for example, the sheriff's department is the one I've seen the most, where those differences, that tug and pull goes into place. You can simply say an adequate amount, as far as we're concerned, and we believe that we can defend that, is this dollar amount. Now, if you want to raise salaries aside from this pay plan that already is in place, Tina makes a good point, you live with that. They want to do more. They want merit raises. I don't even know how that would even fit, given what we've already established through you. They have to make that work. That becomes their issue. Coming back to you and saying, you must fund a greater amount for me, it's not necessarily the case unless they can show, that gets into some really interesting legal calisthenics, that you have inadequately funded a particular department so that they are unable, as an elected official with the job description related to the statute, to do their job. So, and that's pretty rare when you look at the case law. That's never been found to be the case where they have so dramatically underfunded a department that the courts have said, you're right, they can't even do their job with this.
There's going to be plenty of case law, though, coming out of the cities.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm interested to see how that's going to transpire. And again, in peri-materia is the term. Cities and counties are different, and that's recognized under the law by different chapters and different statutory treatment. But the Attorney General on a regular basis has found, if I don't have something that covers the county, but I do have something that covers cities, I'm going to at least read that with some weight in material comparison, so that it can carry some weight as to what, if it's done at that level of municipal government or public government, it also has some efficacy when it comes to counties. So the law that gets created in those circumstances will have some dispositive weight to it. It won't be absolute, but they're different, and so you always have to recognize that we have elected officials at the county level that you know, Tina's role as an elected official in terms of what she is bound to do for the citizens melds with what she does for this county commission, but she does still carry some responsibility that can't be delegated to you and you can't take from her. And it's going to be the same with those other positions, the way that illustrates them. But the budget is still going to be governed here. They don't have the ability to say, I'm going to go ahead and levy X number of bills. Otherwise, we'd really have a problem.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to where you started. Part of it's my fault. I can't get it through my head. What is the difference between administrator and manager?
An administrator at any level answers to the board,
Okay.
as does a city manager. The difference is statutorily that hiring and firing still runs uphill in these instances to approval through the board with an administrator. City manager, there's an absolute law.
Oh,
The city,
that's the law.
if you then do,
Okay.
for example, in a city, where I see it a lot more and I've set it up a lot more, a city manager, when they do an executive session for personnel, shouldn't be any mystery. They've only got one person that they hire and fire. That's it. City manager does everybody else. And again, remember, you don't have the electeds in there with the city, but a city manager is it. They all are employed by and work for the city manager. With the city administrator, they do management duties, and they may be delegated some role with regard to all those employees, but like a department head, the city manager wants to fire them, they're coming to, a city administrator wants to fire them, they're coming to the city commissioner council for approval. So they still have, it actually, as far as I'm concerned, in some ways it's more of a challenge. It's a two-edged sword. City manager has a lot more juice when it comes to personnel. They also have all the responsibility that goes with that. They screw it up and you guys are unhappy. You know, in a county manager's perspective, you're gonna jump on that manager, because they've gotta keep 5 people happy. But they deal with all of the issues related to tenure and ongoing, heck, everything in terms of merit raises or anything else. If you've got a pay plan, it makes their life a little easier, but, you know, dealing with reviews and all of that. And they delegate a lot of that to their department heads, obviously, to take the people who work under them, so you have a stratified system. But that's the primary difference.
I did not make that distinction. So manager is actually the higher over an administrator.
You'll hear administrators say,
Yeah.
Or personnel, anyway.
Well,
But-
because they do the hiring and firing.
Yeah, but
department
based
heads.
upon how, you know, I can send you all the statutory stuff that's out there.
Okay.
And it outlines that, and, you know, a city manager, I get this problem in cities a lot where they didn't have one and they now do, where I constantly end up on an annual basis for a while having to go in and do a little primer on government, and said, no, you don't get to go in and say anything about the employees. And the employees, technically, if it's done correctly, shouldn't be coming to the board. The buck stops with that manager. And the manager makes the determination from there as to their future and ongoing tenure with the organization.
That's an important distinction I need to put in the summary, and then the commission needs to decide if the commission, which way they want to go, if they want to go administrator, manager.
You've got a number of balls in the air on this one,
Right.
based upon the person that, there are gonna be a lot of them that are gonna remind you about that election. But again, that's, when you look at that was done with just a certain limited perspective.
Okay, I'm gonna go on the thin ice. Give me the history. What was it a poll? Was it an election? When was it?
First year I was on the commission.
Okay, give me the background of it, I'm sorry. Wasn't there a poll put out to the citizens on whether or not?
Election, wasn't
It was on election.
It was an election.
It wasn't, but it wasn't a binding election.
No,
No.
it wasn't binding.
No.
Non-binding question.
So what do you call that? Just a non-binding?
Non-binding question generally.
Thank you.
And it was just before the 5, so there was an election, and then the next election, I think it was at 5.
So it's
It was a little sooner than that. Tina, it predates me. That was a number of years ago that they did that. I just don't know how far she will know better than anyone.
I'm sorry, I didn't have that all
Sure,
prepared
I'm
for
s-
today.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't sure exactly
Was that a
what year.
November
Right.
election?
Yeah, it was on the
Yeah,
ballot.
it was
the
on
November-
November 16.
It was the November after I started on the commission 5 years ago.
So
Yeah.
16.
That's what I would say. That sounds
Yes.
it? And the
right.
question was a yes or no question.
It was
Yes.
a yes or no question.
Yep, that's all it was. I remember it.
And it said, do you want a county administrator?
It didn't actually say it quite like that.
No.
It would have,
Would you be in
you
favor?
can't just put an advisory question on a regular ballot. So it had a little bit more than just that, but the way the question was phrased, it didn't have a shall in it, it didn't, so, I can provide some of that information for you a little bit
That's
later,
enough
but I
background, at
don't.
least.
Well, I think it was hard. You didn't know what yes or you didn't know what no meant. Is that right?
No, I thought it was pretty clear, cut and dry, because a lot of the people that I talked to said, you know, they had no information, they had no understanding of
Yeah.
what the question was asking of
There was
them.
no
All-
town hall, no forum.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't any distribution from what I recall of financial
Yeah.
impacts or anything. So basically, it was just more the concept. And the way it was worded, in some ways, was beneficial in that it didn't bind. Tina's right. You can't be non-advisory per se in every aspect, but you can word it in such a way that it doesn't necessarily bind.
And then,
But it does give you their opinion at that time, and based on what information the constituents had, it was kind of, no. Would have to know
Based
more.
on that, it was still a close vote.
Okay, that was gonna be my other question as
It
well.
was. It was only 4-5 percentage points difference from the no's and yeses.
and they, what I got after that was, you know, had I had information about it, you know, I may have still voted the same way that I did, but at that point, all I thought was the county's trying to spend more money.
If you would like, I can develop a little
Sorry to
summary.
blindside
That's
you on that.
okay. I had pulled some minutes of actions that were taken after the election.
Okay.
And so, because there were certain things that were done after that. And so I'll just put something together, going a little bit further back, that includes the ballot question, the results of the election, and then any
This
subsequent
removes
actions.
confusion.
Right.
Before anybody asked, I'm pretty sure it's too late to put it on another ballot.
For this year.
Unless you hold a special election
Yeah.
just for that, which would be very expensive.
Yes.
One of the issues, I don't know that I struggle with, but it is one of the issues that comes up with administrator. One of the largest cost savings you get out of an administrator is budget prep. Yeah, you all know what we pay for budget prep. Our budget preparation, and the individual that does that has been doing that for the county for how many years? 30?
Yeah.
I would say so.
There would,
Probably not a person in the state of Kansas that even has a clue about Marion County as much as that individual is. If we hire an administrator, that is one of the big cost savings. We have to be very comfortable that individual can provide us the kind of information, and not just the numbers, but all the concepts behind it that go to that, including what's coming out of Topeka. So that's a huge consideration for me.
Well, I guess the way I would respond to that is that hopefully it would start together as a partnership. You would still work together with
Yeah, I mean, you
our
couldn't-
current
Yeah,
advisor.
you couldn't
and
hand that
then,
over in a one-year time.
You know, how many more years is he gonna be doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Is then again looking to.
And then
to the
you gotta
future.
sell that to your constituents. You
Right.
hired an administrator
Right.
and you're still paying
Well,
X number of dollars.
My hope would be he could help take some of the job and then maybe over time take more of it, and then by the time he's ready for, you know, say the first year he takes a third of it, 2/3 still to the consultant, and then each year kind of evolve that down. Still get that information, but hopefully he would be able to help save some of his time and work. And there'd also be a training opportunity for that man.
So that means if we hire an administrator, we would want their contract to be at least that term of the.
Well, I mean, these are all parts of the puzzle
Yeah.
going together in this really spinning plate.
The other thing that seems to work with that, because it's that same firm that did it for several of the municipalities that have converted to a management system, is it's not so much just like a 1/3, 2/3, that kind of thing. It's building a rubric, it's building a template that gets used each year, because you won't always have that same city manager or administrator
Sure.
either.
That's right.
And so developing something that allows them to work with Tina in a way that she's comfortable, or whomever is in that chair someday when she isn't, not that you won't be for many years, but you know what I mean. So that there's something that outlasts the people in the chair.
yes.
That becomes, again, just editorially, very important, because these people move on, or they get done, or whatever it may be. And having to start over each and every time that you have a new person in the chair, it's enough to deal with the culture and figuring out how they work versus their predecessor, with all the people that they have to deal with. It's entirely another matter to make it increasingly challenging by having a lot of this kind of stuff that can be established as a system, because the state has one. I mean, you go to those trainings each year for, here's what the budget needs to include this year, here's how it is to be done, particularly this year with an RNR and everything that was involved, changes the concept of what occurs. But if you at least have a starting point, you know, like all of us do, heck, if you're farming, you have a pretty good idea what I do, when I do it, and who I need to see, and what I need to do in the way of FSA and everyone else. So this is the same kind of conceptual approach. You just develop something that streamlines it a little bit, that you can hand off to another person coming down the road after you.
Well, and that's, Brad just hit on a really strong pro to put under continuity or succession. People in the chairs do change. Used to be say the little red truck and get hit by the little red truck. We don't do that anymore. We say you win the lottery.
Yeah.
So you win the lottery, you decide you're not gonna run for re-election, somebody else is gonna fill that spot.
I like that.
Can I ask you just a question real quick about how long are you planning to meet for this session? Are you planning to allow yourself some time to go get lunch, or do I need to take care of lunch?
Are you cooking?
No, I'm not
Do you have a
cooking.
big brownie?
I don't,
Can we
we
do it the
don't.
way we've done it in the past?
Can we get Subway sandwiches?
Because there's nothing.
It's just that I need
These
to go
might-
ahead and get that handled for you all, like right now, if you're gonna keep going. Okay.
That all right?
Sure makes it handy.
Yes.
Makes it
Subway
easy.
sandwich is good enough today.
Okay.
Lots of onions.
Yes.
No one.
Put them right here, right
Sit
here,
by you.
right here, right here.
You're gonna have to
Again,
trade,
this-
trade seats with Dave, but that way you and I can sit next to Kent, because he's
You
the
can
one
sit
that.
over there.
Onions on each side.
Put 'em out in the hall.
But succession is a critical part of any operation. And we just talked about that last week. If someone's suddenly is out of a position, then who takes over in the meantime? Not every department has an assistant that can step in.
That's one thing that we don't do that private business.
You have a
Most private
succession.
businesses have a succession plan unless it's all family.
Yes.
And then even they may also.
We still
Go
have
ahead.
succession.
Well, that's
You didn't
my
miss
understanding.
I heard the sigh immediately.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just listening.
You can listen out loud.
You're welcome to speak at any time. Just ask and we will let you speak.
This is a work session, so
Yeah, we're
not
it's a
here
work session.
all day, every day.
Well,
40 hours a
a
week.
succession plan, as one of the appendices that was noted in the emergency operations plan. So I don't know if you were provided that now. And I don't even know where, I haven't seen it, so, but apparently there's one.
But that still may not apply for every department.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
I-
true,
I-
and it is
I'm al-
important, it's very important.
I'm sure there's 3 or 4 departments that do not have a.
Succession.
Like the Lake.
Okay.
And that may not even be possible. But that would be a role the manager or administrator, say or, slash.
So, I mean,
Or manager.
Brad gave us a pretty, there's no decisions being made, but give us a pretty clear breakdown as far as what manager was versus administrator. What's everybody think? I mean, do you even pursue a path of manager, hearing what you've known, or heard, or the administrator, or, I guess it's just trying to weed it out, like, okay, if we're not even thinking about manager.
Right.
Administrator still
I'm
leaves it
leaning
open.
toward an administrator.
Still leaves it open to some sort of control from here, where a manager is, there's no control from here. That.
Do we know of any county, well, we do in the urban areas, it would be county managers, but I mean, in the smaller areas, do you know of any managers? They're all administrators.
Mostly administrators. If you get into eastern Kansas, when they did a county-wide form of government that is unique, like in Wyandotte and some of those areas, also Johnson County uses this county manager, I believe. Some of those in that area do the management approach. And there's a fairly healthy list of pros and cons to each. But most of the smaller jurisdictions, just if you want to look at that, seem to use an administrator, because it also, in some ways, that's a pretty good list. And then this one gives you an even greater illustrative list. Being all things to all people gets to be hard to do. That manager or administrator is going to have to be able to delegate, and all of them are not necessarily going to have someone of Tina's capabilities, but having that is a huge strength that you guys possess that I can tell you does not exist in a lot of places. So that having her available for a number of those things and taking that into account candidly in terms of her job description, even elected, what's expected of her, and her compensation is probably something that also needs to get looked at when you do this. Because inevitably, when you first start out, I don't know of anybody, unless they've got an S on their chest, that can do that whole list, no matter what. It just takes a while to build that. I looked carefully because we had that conversation with Anthony, talked to several of those guys who were his predecessors, And that continues to evolve in that county after 30 years. And it does in most of this. One thing they say is, well, they continue to add different things. And then sometimes we take some things away because we have capable department heads who can handle certain things, or a county clerk who can handle them. But boy, even something as what we'll call as simple as grant writing is a massive undertaking. The ones that I've written for some of the cities, you don't think it should take that long, but they have so many little T's to cross. And if you miss one, they will throw you out because they're looking for any excuse, because they've got far less money than they do applicants in most cases. So getting good at that takes a while. And the ones that have done it before will still tell you every one's a new experience. I just have some idea how I'm going to attack it, kind of a thing. So, but yeah, there's a lot to be considered there in terms of the job description.
I just for me, I'm key administrator is the direction I was looking towards.
With that, I look to what I just went to Dickinson County up here, and under this overview, it's got your appraiser, your emergency communication, emergency management, EMS, health service, human resources, road and bridge, zoning. Okay, so when you go to hire a department head under those titles there, who would this board expect to do the hiring? Would you expect the administrator to do that? Would the administrator bring a candidate in that they feel like? Would you, how would you expect to go through that?
All gets into the job description, and I've got multiples, because I'm not sure, until we met today, I have no idea which one of those you'd want to start considering. The short form answer is, if it's a manager, that becomes easy. It's the manager's decision. They'll just tell you what they did. If it's an administrator, it depends upon the level of delegation that you wish to advance in that circumstance. You can tell them, we want you to be the one who narrows it down to, well, commonly they don't even, most of them don't give up that much authority, down to 3. And then we'll do the final interviews with you on those 3. And we will listen to your recommendation, but we also want input. That's that gradual approach to administration and management in kind of a common sense as to how comfortable you are with the person you put in the chair. And at the outset, keeping some hands on it is usually what I have heard and seen done. And that's just based on history. And there's 19 counties right now that have active long-term administrators or managers going forward. And I think those are all on that one sheet. The 2 extra, I just counted 17, but there are 2 off the side.
I would hope under our culture, the administrator would act in that type of manner. Like you said, bring us 3 names.
I think, Joe, that answered your question. I think we're pretty much all in agreement. Administrator, we could probably, since I can never keep the 2 separated, just eliminate talking about manager.
Yeah, let's get rid of that.
Set that narrows the discussion a little bit better.
I think that's, for me, managers taking too much of a leap for
Right.
what this county is used to.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed. That way I can learn to just use the word administrator. Narrow the discussion.
But I would expect that administrator to do the interviews.
Sure. Be a part of it.
Well, it's like Brad said, I would expect that to be, depending how much involvement you have as a board and what you decide, which you keep it that way. Well, you bring us 3 applicants and we'll take your recommendation and everything into play. But I mean, if you become really, really comfortable with that administrator, you could be like, nah, just take care of it, do it. There's nothing set in stone at that point. But if you go the other way, you can't get involved.
Yes.
So you gotta.
The other element of that I see them hand off, them being a board or council or commission, almost at the outset, in doing that, is the day-to-day operational oversight. Simple discipline on certain kinds of issues that you have been confronted with in the last year. And the reason that it has a true advantage is, as I said, Tina does a lot of things as a county clerk that a lot of county clerks wouldn't even take on. But there's a point at which she gets placed, maybe she's comfortable with that, I wouldn't be, but in an untenable position, because it's a lateral kind of a situation where you're communicating with another department head. And if you think about the hierarchy of things, they're at the same level. And what happens when that person says, heck with you, I'm not going to do it? She doesn't have the authority to tell them, you by God will. I don't necessarily either, other than to call them, as I have on occasion, and said, you got a legal liability here and you need to turn this over or do this and you need to do it now. Or tell me something sustainable here and defensible as to why you won't. This is silly, kind of a thing. But even that isn't the same as an administrator who's delegated those duties to say, no, what I tell you to do, you shall do, or you put yourself in peril. And I will go back to that board and tell them, I got somebody who just won't follow instruction or do what's required of them, which puts them at obvious risk. So there are some real advantages to having that next strata for a lot of that sort of thing, because it really does put a person who shouldn't have to deal with that in a position where they're struggling with it.
And that's something I've seen just in the few months that I've been here, is I've seen people put in places that really, it's uncomfortable, it's not proper, it's just, I'm not saying anything wrong, but because of the structure, it's not a clean path. And it puts people in very difficult positions, where having someone in this administrator role would clean that up and make it a lot easier for the board to do their job and for department heads
To do their job.
Okay.
One other benefit on this particular topic of the HR situation is that you can handle just minor HR tasks that should just be handled outside of the confines of open meetings.
Real advantage in a lot of ways.
Salary sheets, yeah, all that, they all go away. Yeah.
routine administration.
I mean, it's still all.
It's all open record in most
Right.
cases,
Right.
but it does pragmatically provide some real advantages and create an inherent efficiency in terms of you not having to take time with that. And like under the administrative things that Tina has to bring to you, there's a number of them that you can pick out and say that wouldn't necessarily have to go here any longer. Frees up more of your time for the greater policy decisions, which is the function of this board in most cases.
Okay, we've talked quite a bit about the administrator position and role. Could you give us a little background or pros and cons of, say, a part-time or a contract administrator?
Pragmatically, in this county, the primary advantage is you're easing into something. If you, and a lot of the counties have done that, the smaller ones. And the reason for doing that, and again, it also, the success and failure of that is dependent upon making sure you really highlight, these are the elements like on your list, that this is what we want to accomplish in the first 12 months or 24 months of this, and they work their way into the full-time role, or they work their way, they take that time to go, okay, this is what works and what doesn't. Now when we go looking for a candidate, we have a lot more information. It's like wind farms. You know, the first time you do it is very different than the second time, or the after you've been there for a while and know, okay, these are things we just didn't ask. And it's kind of a poor analogy, but it's one that fits here. And knowing the general culture of Marion County, being able to at least look at that as a way that you ease into it is in a lot of ways advantageous, because you can, for lack of a better term, sell it more easily. You can build. The disadvantage, obviously, is they're not sitting in a chair somewhere 40 hours a week, or quite frankly, if they're doing administration 50 hours a week or more. At least most of them say that, and I suspect they're right. So
you would still want that person accessible
yeah,
on a regular basis.
you'd still want to set hours. You'd still want to have them available in a way that, you know, you can just say we've got a structure. That's important. But I asked a bunch of questions knowing that question would come up of several of them, and each one's a little different, but they all said, it worked a little easier to do it in pieces because you've got a board who's never dealt with that before, you've got staff that have never dealt with that before. So easing into it in some ways has just the human nature advantage of, okay, I'm getting used to it a little more slowly rather than it's whole hog, so to speak.
I can see about part-time didn't seem to work well in the real world. We found out that, because something always comes up on the day that you're off.
Yeah.
And this is something that, this is a big moving target, and there's lots of cogs in the wheels, and you hate to say, well, we gotta wait till tomorrow, because this isn't the right day to ask that question.
Yeah.
So I personally would be against part-time anything.
Yeah, that is.
We tried that in our business, it doesn't work.
And you can make that argument. You absolutely can. That doing it,
My opinion.
in that way creates inherent challenges too. Just depends on what it is and how you set it up. So.
It really comes down.
Depends on how quick you want a decision, I guess. How important, if it's not going to stop the machine making weight, but if it's going to stop the machine, we need to take care of it right now. And
The other thing that I guess
today's world is right now.
Yeah. The other thing that comes into play is where you find the benefit and demonstrably find the benefit. In some cases you'll find, and we'll go back to, because they're more prevalent with management and administration, cities may or may not have a full-time one because the call for it as to what they really feel like they need. Peabody. Did they really need a full-time person? Boy, they're handy for what they did, but really did they need them 40 hours a week? That's debatable. Hillsboro's big enough that it's justifiable, so is Marion. But where do you fall in that category, and how do you find out? And that's why many of them, if they can, will do the part-time to start with. And because, like Marion County, you still have that culture of, do we really need it? From some people. That you're going to have to demonstrate that it has value. So, but I see the point. You can argue either way.
Okay. Any other directions we need to talk about here? I was trying to look through some of your
Space.
Huh?
Space.
Space. Yeah.
Anybody? Anyone?
That corner over there?
Here's
It's not the attic.
Here's my thought.
Maybe it would be.
It's pretty nice up there,
Here's
in the summertime.
Here's my thought. I'll
Or
probably
the
get eaten
winter.
alive
Or the winter.
because a
Cold.
lot of people have their
Good
eye on
glasses.
this. But right over here, got something opening up. Move them across the street, they're still not gonna use up every bit of space there. That still buys, center area or something there that place them right there. That puts P&Z over there, and that puts the administrator over there, and that's my thought.
Put who over there?
Planning and zoning.
Oh.
Okay, and then does that allow for the administrator to have an assistant? Because the assistant probably would need an office.
Well, it's not
So-
really in the budget right now to have an
No,
assistant.
but I'm just talking long-term.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know of any
long-term,
administrator that doesn't have an assistant.
long-term, I hope we get more to Randy's idea. So then that frees up some other space.
I mean, we could probably do a temporary fix.
But I would.
But then that comes in, how many other departments would like to utilize that space too?
Right, that's why I said I'm gonna get you alive, because I said it out loud.
Yeah. No, I thought about that, but I let you bring it up.
Thanks, buddy.
Kid's pretty wise.
What about remodeling the whole building? Does the ambulance department need all that room? Can we knock down a wall?
Oh, the whole building over there?
Yeah, can we knock down a wall, combine them?
And musical chairs too, I mean, like I said, there's some space there, so if there's some some other department that could go there instead of an administrator, keep the administrator in here, I'm all for that too.
Yeah, the attorney wants to go, you know.
Well, but we don't wanna go down that road.
Dave, you mentioned something that we haven't really discussed at any time, is, you just said it, the ambulance,
Redesign the
ambulance, operation there. If you looked at that whole building and just made this choice to do something like what you're talking about, John, I could foresee moving the ambulance out too. You know, whether you take and you go put on an office up there to the Marion ambulance shed up there, we've got 2 lots behind there, whether you do something to that effect, making an office administration building, small one up there, and then do what Dave said, and maybe completely take a look at that building to reorganize a little bit in there, because we've seen.
What about the space in the new Hillsborough EMS? There's space in there.
There's gonna be an office in there too, but I don't.
I haven't
I mean-
visualized it yet, Dave. or
I mean,
can't.
I think there's space in there for,
Well, it's,
Take something to live in there.
I mean, you got the EMS director and the
yeah,
administrative assistant.
yeah.
That's basically one office. Now, I know they have to have an area for training, which I think they still do.
But I just foresee something to that effect where that building's sort of sore eyes. I mean, the heating and cooling needs to be looked at. It just needs an upgrade. It's been there since the 60s, and
It's probably never been remodeled.
I don't think so, Dave. I don't know that for.
I've only been in parts of it, but
There's been some doors closed off, I've seen that.
So,
Make small offices.
yeah, I don't know exactly what all's been done there, but I would foresee if something to that effect, at least to use it, if we're not gonna work with it or do something, I would.
well, that's something that should be on the topic of this.
Oh,
I mean, when they move out, we need, just, nobody's moving in that day, we need to stop and look at it and think about it.
yeah, well, that's,
I don't know
that's
who,
just.
who you get to look at to tell us how to redesign it, to use it more efficiently.
Well, and there's our whole county-wide space analysis. It's not a space program, but it's.
Yeah, but I'm just talking,
Space.
an administrator needs to be here.
Well, and that could be one of the first roles is
Find
defining the
space.
needs and what's available and then what needs to be built.
Yeah.
We do know we have to build something, but we need to know before we build it, what we build. Just like if we move forward with an administrator, we need to, just like you said, it needs to be done properly.
Yeah.
That's finding a little space.
Yeah.
And then you get the administrator to help you find
The
a
big
lot of
space.
space.
You could have one of these desks for 6 months.
I'm willing to share my office space that Tina created for me and the safe right around the corner. That's my desk, but it's being used by the president.
I've never seen your office.
Yeah, it's nice in there.
It's mobile. It's mobile.
But it's quiet.
But you know what I'd bet? I'd bet if he was to sit there, that press lady'd tell you to get out of her chair.
She would. Yeah.
But I guess the
That's a
point
movie
is
desk back in there.
there are options on the space.
Yeah.
And I think we can find a way to make it work. Just the commission has to decide what direction we want to go.
And you referred to me a while ago, I was gonna refer to Dave's motion, 500,000 starting with first year, I think we cut that down a little bit.
Yeah.
We can do lease purchase.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that might be a
100,000
good
still
idea.
covers it. But it gave us 400,000 in the budget. I'm slowly learning.
I won't forget that one, that I heard that it
It's
was
still-
already retracted in the afternoon after he made that motion.
It's still there.
It's a good learning experience.
It's learning. It hit me on the drive home.
Yeah, that's cool, Dave, I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
there went 3 mills.
Yeah.
Which we'll hear about this afternoon. So, anyway.
Space, and that has to be accounted for before the decision's made.
Oh yeah, just like the job description, just like a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got
Oh,
a
sure.
lot, and we're gonna pursue this in this direction. There's a lot of holes that have to be filled.
Yeah, because the job description between a full-time, even the difference between full-time and part-time. It's really almost two different.
Oh, it is, yeah, completely. But we got to prioritize, I guess part of that would be prioritizing.
Right.
This is Marion County, you can get that part-time to do everything.
We got Tina doing a
There we
great
go.
job.
Yeah, we don't. We
She
already have that.
gasped at that point.
Good discussion.
Tina, got any more comments on that one?
That-
That's not an ask.
Hey, that's just how much faith I got in Marion County people. That's just how much faith I got.
Yeah. Well, no, we do have, and I, of anybody, should be sitting here saying that the two county clerks that I work here with have been taking care of the jobs very, very effectively and tried doing the most they could for the county. That's been something, and other department heads have too. But you see it there because they're associated with us, and you sometimes that, what I don't like about it, sometimes it does create, well, they always get to see, the commentators, they always get to see theft before the rest of us department heads do. And come on, person, there's, yeah, just, that's their job, they're here. That's the county clerk's job, is to be here. They could be here too.
It's all part of the culture though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes, culture.
and to get our elected, not just our elected officials, but our department heads to buy into the fact that this is just not my 8-hour job.
Yeah.
And so, and that'd be part of administrators' responsibility too, to facilitate that type of culture.
That would be, and typically, just saying, any good administrator is going to realize that you really don't want people going to my bosses before I know something about it.
Right.
Would either one of you two that's really already taken off and or three has done some legwork already, like to see some guidelines that we could put on that board over there, that maybe one small step, and I'm not gonna say of mankind, but one small step
We're
for Marion
talking
County Commission.
huge achievements here.
to look at, to accomplish maybe, whether it be 6 months from now, whether it be 3 months from now, 1 month from now, whatever. Can either one of you fellas come up with it, sort of the first thing you think we want to accomplish?
Well, I guess the first thought is, does the commission want to proceed? The poll, just a poll.
Yeah, I think we need to
I gotta get
determine if we're
management off
interested
that.
in all, or interested in part-time, or interested in full-time. That's your three choices.
Right.
I'm only interested as long as it's the right person. I mean, I want to make that completely clear. It's got to be the right person.
All I'm gonna do is take off manager.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, good idea.
So I don't keep confusing myself.
Glad you didn't put that on permanent marker.
Yeah. Oh, I'm way ahead of that.
I'm surprised he even asked. He controls all the stuff.
I think as chairman, I probably should buy some more, just to have, so in case anybody else wanted to, I could buy them.
That will just cause some confusion.
Oh, it
I
would
think
cause
you're better
confusion,
off
okay,
doing
all
it.
right. It should have.
Should we take a poll to see which way we're leaning?
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to stick out my neck. I see this as a job that's going to evolve. It's not gonna evolve for what we're going to ask for or write up in a job description. But it's gonna evolve culture-wise and in some other areas that will start to be fulfilled maybe down the road if we go to full-time. And so, right now I'm leaning toward starting out with a part-time administrator. Not, shoot me down.
I would lean towards a full-time, because I think in order to fulfill that, make sure you're able to handle any circumstance so you're not run down before you even get started. Any issue that pops up, you're taking care of it. Otherwise, you don't stand a fighting chance of proving that this position is worth having. kicked in the dirt if they can't respond to it.
That's what I said, should be done.
Yeah, I'm full-time, just from my 40, 50 years in business. We tried part-time, and if you're gonna do it, you jump in at both feet and do it right the first time.
Well, I see full-time as our goal, but I'm open to looking at options part-time for
Yeah.
the transition.
That's
So
exactly
I
the
think
way
that's
I'm-
where Kent's at. Again, the right circumstances, the right person, the right experience. If we can do an evolution, I'm not opposed to that. My goal is full-time administrator. That I see in my mind. But how we get there, we've got a road to get there. And we've got a lot of decisions and a lot of work to go through to get there. If there's an opportunity, I'm not opposed to looking at it. I'm not saying that's the way it's gonna be, but just to keep our doors, our options open. That's just where I'm at. So you've got 2 and 2.
I've alluded to it already, that I have seen quite a change in setting here, and people's, what do you call it, a while ago, Kent, you called it, culture changing. And so that has changed my attitude and quite a bit. But what all these papers right here leans for us to do is to see the setup, have it set up, not just throw it out and wing it. And that is something that it don't never work. It always gets you in trouble if you try throwing yourself into something and winging it. And so, and I too don't think you can shut a door on a part-time if the right opportunity come along for us in the search for a first-time person. I would like to be open to either, and I think I would be entertained at either, as long as I know the flow charts, how they work, and what our goal is. A mission statement. Mission statement is something that is pretty practical to try to obtain, and so you know, I'm in favor of whatever the board decides to look at, but keep our minds open and make sure that it's a positive, and determine some space. Space is something that I've fought with, and I guess that's why I'm sort of always looking for space. I saw what we did and with the jail and facility over there, and come up with the best possible for our solution. The public turned us down the first time because we'd been led, and the way we went to school, and hey, let's try making some money for this jail, and doing that. The public says, no, let's take care of our own. And so we turned around, but the people that voted no come and helped us say yes to the public, or put another plan for the public that they could like. So, you know, we work with the public, accept to their comments, and work with them, and come up with a plan here. And there's going to be the yays and the nays with this. And so, as long as we listen to them, and I'd be willing to go forward with seeing what we can accomplish. And that's why I don't know whether space becomes an issue to accomplish, and then have the space when you go open search for that, or do you go get the get this other stuff all done and then think about space? So there's some things that we need to accomplish. Maybe the space don't need to be as big as the big building that I proposed for storage, even though I know that would be great. But if we need to take care of our own smaller terms first, maybe we need to do that too. So I think there's a general consensus here that the board's interested in a administrator, and we've got some things laid out here for that. So I'm willing to listen to whatever plan we want to adopt and try going forward.
So what's our next step?
I knew he was going to ask it.
I must say, come back with a flow chart, more tailored to Marion County.
Okay. Would the commission, I put the question on, would the commission want to hear from Kansas Association of Counties, Would you want to hear, or is it too premature for a consultant?
I'd like to hear from the Kansas people to tell us
Okay.
what's,
See if they've
what's
got
going
someone
on.
that'd be willing to
Who
help.
else is, maybe it's other counties.
Yeah, they might have
doing this
knowledge
too.
of other counties that are using part-time.
I think
That's
it would
what,
be
that's where I'd kind of like.
A
to
good
hear.
resource to listen to.
And it could be they don't have to travel here, it could be.
Yeah.
some
And
sort
they
of
might
meeting like
know
that,
some other
work session
counties
with
that
a.
are going through the same process.
Oh, sure,
Here's
we're
what I
not, we're
think.
not rebuilding the
So
wheel.
we could compare
I
notes.
think the Kansas Association of Counties would be a first step resource to see if they can provide us that type of information.
I'd like to reach out to the Kansas County Administrators Association and to, they
Yes.
are a board within KAC.
Yes.
They are inside of it,
Yes.
and so they have,
think we're all headed
Johnson County is the president of that board, so Maury Thompson.
And as long as they realize the size county we are and stuff, I mean.
Well, they can bring a lot to, with
Well,
what hurdles.
I'm sure they all belong to it,
Yeah.
even the smaller ones. They could be a resource. Oh, you need to reach out to Pottawatomie County
Yeah.
or Russell County.
General consensus then, we're reaching out to find some more directional information.
In fact, they may even help us with the job descriptions,
Yep.
flow chart.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why you have a membership. of the
That's
association.
a resource we need to use
Yep.
And who
before
is-
we think about a consultant.
Who will be doing that?
Do what?
Who will be doing
I
that,
think-
reaching out to them?
Either Dave or I, or.
I'm gonna let Joe know, because you've already got it.
Okay.
So I got it on his website.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
You do all the work, I just.
Take the credit there.
Take the credit.
However,
I don't care
However,
who takes the
I
credit.
don't either.
As long as we do the
I would
right
like
thing.
them to know that this is a Marion County decision, not just Joe Gehring calling it.
Yes.
This is a Marion County decision, and I think that's what Tina's asking. So if you prepare it somehow what you want to do.
Well, I would ask them to
Well-
join one of our meetings.
Yeah.
And then that way,
Talk to us.
everybody gets a chance.
What does our contact need to come from Tina?
There you go. Right,
That's-
I think I follow you now.
That's where I'm coming from.
Is that the proper
because
path?
I don't care if you do that and work with Tina to get it accomplished.
Okay.
But somehow they need, Tina's our
This-
main person, aren't you the only contact? I mean, are you the only one, or besides Brad, or?
I'm fine with however you wanna do it,
Tina's the
you
one
know,
that'll be-
but,
I was just trying to take some load.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We just keep
I mean,
dumping it.
I don't think that a board member can't reach out to
Sure.
somebody and say, we want you to come speak at one of our meetings about this topic.
It's directed by you.
I mean, it's up to however you wanna do it. So that's, I mean, a lot of times I do that, most of the time.
Classic
but I just-
example of what you're discussing. The
Yeah.
administrative function for this body, it falls to someone. It's either gonna be one of you, or she, God bless her, is gonna do it all the time. And she's done a heck of a job for you, and I can't say that enough,
How
but
about-
that really isn't always her deal.
How about this, Tina just asking if we appointed Joe Gehring to contact them to this information, is that all they need? So that they know that it's a county decision, out of a work session.
Right, I mean,
Well, he can specify that when
I think you're overthinking
contacts
it,
them.
Randy.
Huh?
Yeah.
I think you're overthinking it.
Okay. I just don't want him to get shut down.
He's the county commissioner, he's an elected official,
Yeah.
I just,
so he should have authority to do that.
my whole, like I said, my whole goal is to try to get them to virtually attend a meeting, so that way we all can hear them.
Yeah, you're not binding the county to anything in particular, then we do it by formal motion. In this particular instance, if by consensus at a work session, you've asked one of your members to make contact with the association, to schedule something via Zoom, you're perfectly
That's
capable
not
of
a
doing it.
decision that
Right.
has to be made by formal.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
not spending money, you're
Right.
just.
Okay.
but I think that once you make the contact, then
They're gonna have
you
to
would
have-
put it in contact with me so that I can
Right.
send them the details of the meeting.
Get everything set up.
And
I would.
And, or,
Believe me.
And I believe-
Once they ask me a question, I'll be like,
Talk to Tina.
you gotta call Tina.
And I believe that we need to have a special meeting on it,
Yeah.
not just during our meeting. I mean, whenever they.
Whether it be before or.
Yeah, whatever time it's special, so we can devote ourselves to it.
Yes.
Just be another work session.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
I'm good with it.
Good.
So are you reaching out to KAC and the KCO,
So-
KCAA?
Yeah, so the Kansas County Administrators Association.
Or are you just reaching out to one of them?
I'll reach out to both or whoever's willing to help.
Okay.
So probably direct you from one to the other.
Because I found the Kansas County Administrator Association in KAC's
Yep.
website.
So,
I think there's a tie there.
mhm.
Well, I think the tie is similar to the tie that between the County Commissioners Association and KAC. I mean, KAC
Umbrella.
is an umbrella over lots of different organizations within it, but they're still separate. So even though sometimes they'll provide a link to the other organization on their website. So.
County administrators have their own board and their own budget, and they're different in that, but they certainly work with each other for the obvious reason, because it's
So
all
they
county.
may be able to work all together.
Sure.
Okay.
Are you good, Joan?
Yeah.
Okay. You comfortable?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll make a motion to recess until 12:30 for a regular meeting.
Maybe just recess.
Be
No
recessed.
motion.
Or make, I
You just recess.
I'll just recess it
Okay.
till 12:30 to regular meeting.
No action.
Yeah, I didn't take any action. It's your meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Randy's in
Okay.
charge.
I try to get everybody involved.
That's the way we always treated it with the mayor.
Yeah, okay.
It's the mayor's meeting. It's just there.
And I treat it the other way, I want everybody involved.
More fingerprints on the night.
Yeah,
Right. Well, it ain't my fault. They set it over there on the table.
Oh, the onions.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we've adjourned this morning to a work session or recessed, and we'll get into the county commission meeting. Starting with public comments. See if there's any comes online.
I don't think we actually have any public online right now.
Okay, all right, and we have no public, well, no, wait, I don't think you're public. I think
Well,
you're-
I'm on the agenda, so I'm not sure I
Yes.
can talk, can I?
You could,
Yes,
but,
you can talk now, or you could,
That
put you
is
on
your
the agenda.
call.
but if you
gentlemen.
have stuff that's on the agenda, we can probably hold on to.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
In case the public wanted to jump in.
I can wait.
Yeah, if they've seen you on here, they may want to come in at
Sure.
certain times, so.
All right. Certainly can wait.
That being said, nothing, so go ahead and, agenda approval, is there, the only changes that I'll make is executive session, under road and bridge for personnel. I hate to throw that to I'll throw that to the end, but. Scott's coming in at 2:00.
Yes.
That's just weird. Well, yeah, probably. I won't take 2 minutes
If you don't mind doing it at the end, I probably will have one also.
Okay.
Same topic, so we just combine them.
Yeah, somewhere down in here, just do that then. I'll throw that executive session clear at the end after Scott's done.
How long will your set, will you take?
Not very long. I
Should
can,
we maybe move her up
Well, that's what I originally thought about doing.
and see if we can
I
get that?
think his concern was if the public wanted to come on and ask questions,
Yeah.
which is fine. I mean, I can wait.
But it's at 1:30, that's an hour.
Yeah,
I can run and come back.
we've got it
Go
on
get some
record.
It's up to you, otherwise we'll try to move you up.
It's you guys' call, but I don't want to upset your people
I
if they
think-
want
I
to.
think we need to move it up, but it's on recording anyway, so anything that gets missed, they can watch it.
Okay. I can do allow that.
Whatever you wish.
We'll take and move TC broadband grant up to here, and then we'll get a personal phone number from you
Yes,
then?
yes.
In case
I
anybody
have-
does, we can give them a personal phone number
Sure.
to contact you.
Personal
correct?
phone.
Well, a business.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
All hours of the
Hey,
night?
people call me at home too.
I think I made that mistake once. I think I
We
put
can
the
do
personal
that.
It would
so
be
that-
fine, that's all right. I probably, yeah. I might have thought you were a robocall.
In order to get that done,
Okay.
then we'll move you up, and that'll give us time to go ahead and executive session right
Sure.
after road and bridge then.
So are you planning to switch road and bridge and this
No, I'll just move TCW up.
to where?
Right now.
Oh.
You start the meeting.
Before the administrative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yep.
All right.
I'm sorry, they're gonna
You go
probably
over there?
need to go over there,
Okay,
yes, so
that's
that
fine
you
with
can
me.
go on.
The microphone.
Yes. I'm fine with that. I understand. My name's Angela Schwartzberger. I am with TCW. I am their Director of Public Relations and Community Development. And I'm coming to see you guys today to talk to you about a grant we are doing in partnership with the state of Kansas and NTIA for Peabody, Durham, and Lehigh, Kansas. We've been looking at those areas for a while, and this opportunity came up. And what this is the state of Kansas is actually putting together one big proposal for NTIA. So the state will be actually making the grant, and we are a partner, we're a contributing partner. And we've been working very hard on it. It's been a process, but we've gotten, we had meetings online because it was during COVID with Peabody, and I did go to Durham in person after that last year. And we talked to them about what another grant that we were looking at, which didn't actually work out. But they were in favor of doing something, and this is at no cost to any of the communities. TCW, which is a partner, which is a business under TCT, which is a cooperative communications company out of Council Grove. Tampa's one of our areas, Lost Springs, Lincolnville. So we're familiar, and several very rural customers in Marion County, so we're very familiar with Marion County. Anyway, that's our parent company. TCW is doing this, or TC, I'll go back to where I said, my parent company is TCT, and so this is TCW, we're just a subsidiary of this. Anyway, so we're doing this, we're gonna put up a 10% match. The entire grant, I wanna say $6 million. And that's for buried fiber to the premise service to these 3 communities. I can get you maps if you want. I probably should have brought you one. We have some rural routes along the way that we're going to be offering some service to those people too. If you're not very far off those routes, we'll be offering that. So the grant, like I said, the stipulations on it are there's a lot of things we've had to do, census block information, pricing, tiers, competitive analysis, making sure that they're very interested that the technology is future-proof so that it will grow. I don't know if you guys know much about the communications industry. There's been a lot of money thrown at things like wireless and just fiber-rich networks. This won't be like that. This will grow as demand grows. That network will be able to handle what people need. So that's one of the reasons it's more money. We're making a big investment in the future of our towns that we're going to help. Anyway, so we did talk to Lehigh and we talked to Durham earlier, and their city councils were on board with it. We gathered surveys and information from the people in those towns that were very positive. We felt like we got a big enough percentage of those to present those to the state too. And so we just started talking to Peabody, and the grant's got a very short window. They have to submit their grant on the 17th, so we have to have all our stuff to them by the 11th. So I'm asking for letters of recommendation and survey, or letters of support and surveys and stuff to be done by the 10th. So I can tabulate those, put them in a PDF form, and get them to the state. So I know that's short turnaround, but I've been to Peabody several times. We had a community meeting last Tuesday. It was pretty well attended and positive. I think it's something that people want there. I know that you guys gotta figure out what your constituents want and things like that. Like I said, there's gonna be no cost to the people or the cities. We're doing the 10% match.
One of the things we are asking for, I believe in Peabody, and I will talk to their city council about that tonight, is a piece of land to put what's called our central office. So they indicated to me, some of the people I talked to, or the mayor, that he believes there's some land they own that would probably not be an issue doing that, wouldn't be a conflict of interest or anything. So I think it's gonna go well. I'm going to the farmer's market tonight to talk to people again. I went last week. And then I'm going to address the city council tonight. So what I'm here asking you for, as the county commissioners, is that you would provide a letter of support for the project, saying to the state and the feds that you believe this is a good project, you think it will be good for your people, and that you support it as it's called a contributing supporter, which is not financial in any way. We will need to do some work down county roads. We're going to be coming down Nighthawk from Canada. Initially, we talked about doing Canada and Kansas Road as well, and we did not put those in the grant. We decided those are things that we can look at on our own because they're small and probably do with our own crews and things like that. So those won't be part of the grant, but they are on our radar to do. So anyway, we'll be coming from Canada down Nighthawk down to Peabody. We are already in Durham, because that was our we have a redundant ring to Hillsborough. We've been working with Hillsborough for the last, goodness, several years to get fiber to them. We're almost done with that. Just to give you an update on that, we are in the final stages of that, getting people hooked up. It's been really well, we feel like it's been well received. We probably will be doing cleanup in Hillsborough for the next few months, so we'll make sure everything that didn't get repaired is getting repaired, alleyways, homes, yards and things like that. And then we'll probably be all wrapped up with that by October. Cleanup and things like that. So we have a redundant ring coming from I think it's Highway 77 in toward to Canada and over to Hillsborough, and then again down 15 past Durham. So we'll take the service from Durham on 56 over to Lehigh and up, and then we'll take the service from Canada down Nighthawk to Peabody. So that's how that'll work. So I guess what we're asking is if there's any easements or things like that, licensing, if this group would
There is
help
a
out.
major water line on the
Yes.
on the west side of the road on most of it.
Yes.
And
From
I would-
Hillsborough?
Yeah, and I would strongly recommend going to the east side.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, just if it's any ways possible, but
You want Bryce to come in and listen to this? He's on.
I mean, he just got there and just sat down,
Okay.
but anyway, just think about that.
Sure.
There is a major, I don't know what's on the east side, you know, if there's any major telephone or anything like that, but
We'll do locates for all the utilities and make sure that we don't disturb any of those if we can't. Sometimes it's actually,
Is there gas on that side?
no.
I think it seems like there was something, but, anyway, I'm sorry.
that's okay, that's okay.
Nighthawk,
Nighthawk. It's a straight shot.
main utilities. Seems like I'm missing some on the west side.
West side's water line,
Water
I'm
line,
sorry, east side.
east side.
Isn't there something on that side?
Probably utilities on both sides,
Yeah.
actually.
the big things are the fiber optic lines on the west and the water line on the west.
So the
They're
T
both on the
network.
same side?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything of,
I was thinking maybe it was a fiber optic already there.
Yeah, there's,
Is-
the T network is there.
Yeah.
okay, because I think that's
I
the
don't know
one on
which
the west.
side,
I think
but-
that's one, because that's the fiber line going down to
Mhm.
Peabody as well as the water line.
Okay.
So our engineers will be talking to, I'm guessing Bryce, and whoever else, and the gas companies and the electric. We've worked with them extensively in the past. Since this is an NTIA grant, we will also be having to work with the historic and environmental folks and talk about that. We try to go on undisturbed lands or previously disturbed lands so that we don't run into a burial ground or anything like that that we're not foreseeing. I don't know if you know of any of those kinds of things. I don't think there is any.
Nighthawk's getting rebuilt right now, so
Okay.
you'd know about it by now.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I do know that the existing fiber line out there is not very deep,
Okay.
because we have,
I didn't figure it was.
it's right underneath some of our culverts,
Oh.
for whatever reason.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's something coming down the east side of the road just south of 190th, but it doesn't.
Mhm. I don't know.
So, but I mean, you'll have to call anyway.
Sure, we'll
Those
be
will all
calling.
Those are all in
We're
public.
gonna be, I mean, you all know this kind of stuff is not always fun. When it's done, it's nice, but it's always a process and.
How soon will you know where the project goes?
November,
November, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
yeah, so we'll start, I don't know, we have a year to build it. So that is kind of tight, but I
Wow.
think we can do it. We did Alta Vista in 3 months. Just because that was the grant for that one. Alta Vista is north of our town at Council Grove, and that was quite a deal. But anyway, this is, we'll be in touch with your guys, like I said, all the utility people. I believe we've hired a group called MP Next Level to be the contractors, which is a different group than the ones we have in Hillsborough. We've worked with them extensively. They've built our whole network in our certificated area. So anyway, that's what I'm here to ask. Do you guys have any questions?
I guess you said.
I have one.
Go ahead.
I live west of where you put that redundant line up to
Mhm.
Durham,
Mhm.
but then you came down 290th west of Durham,
Okay,
about a mile,
okay.
and then went back south and looped back around
Uh-huh.
back to 15th.
Okay,
Okay, so all of the people that live on that road, that 3-mile section,
Uh-huh.
have been hitting me up.
uh-huh.
Can we get hooked onto that? There's a
That'll
couple of,
depend,
there's a
that's
couple
gonna
of-
be a loop transport fiber, which won't include a backhaul fiber. So that's different.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to understand because you think, oh, it just goes right past. But it's kinda like having a one-way street and then you have to build another one-way street to bring the traffic back.
One by your front door.
Well, it's like bringing your main into your server and then putting your.
Well, I'm just bringing it
Yeah,
up
no,
because
no, I
we have some
understand.
fairly large operators out in there and we
Mhm.
have terrible internet.
Yeah, I know. Those are things that are above my head. I don't understand. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Those are things we can talk to. Has anybody called and asked our guys? Or anybody called in and asked about that? Do you know?
That I can't tell you.
Okay. Let me get an address from you.
I can say, I think you were just officially asked, is what.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Officially
Okay. I
being
have to,
Yes.
I don't know, because I don't know what the network build out there looks like. I don't know. what
Yeah,
the
I mean, if you can
technology is.
refer someone to me, that'd be
Okay,
great.
what I can do is get I can give you my card and you can get a hold of me and ask me, and then I'll make sure you get to who you need to get to.
Okay.
How's that sound?
What kind of a
Mhm.
monthly cost do you expect to put to a homeowner?
It's going to
Or
be,
basic?
you can do a metered gig from $29.95 a month, all the way up to a gig. Speed download, upload is 50 meg for, I think that's $199. So it kind of depends on what speed you want and what you want to do. I believe we have agreements with the incumbent provider there to do telephone and video. So we may offer those two services too. Right now, this grant just really is dealing with getting the pipe there and making sure everybody's hooked up.
Okay.
So those are questions that we will have to answer.
Okay.
Right now, we're just focusing on getting the money so we can build it.
Right.
Infrastructure.
So,
Getting the
yeah.
infrastructure in the ground.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part. Once you do that, because of how it's built, you couldn't put anything over it. So anyway, but
Any other questions about the
yeah.
vision?
Any other questions? David, you were starting to say
Well, I
something.
just can't kind of hit on it, just want to make sure that further down the road, if there's opportunities to get to the rural people, that's what's
Yes.
been so fantastic in northern Marion County is, that's
It's
what
our
rural,
incumbent service,
that's what
yeah.
rural co-ops do,
Yeah.
is they get to the rural customers. So if there's an
Fiber to the farm.
opportunity to get off that pipeline
Mhm.
down the road, I would really, really,
Oh,
really
yeah.
appreciate that.
We've talked to the
I've
state,
been spoiled up there.
that was one of our questions to the state was, and the state has let us know they foresee lots and lots of, broadband's very hot right now, especially after COVID and the whole remote working thing. So they foresee a lot more opportunities coming down the pike with those sorts of things, especially, I'm really keeping my eye with, like you said, with the rural.
Yeah.
Because it is, to give you an idea, to build the kind of fiber we built, it's $220,000 a mile. So that's what you're talking about, so.
About the same as rebuilding the road.
It's exactly like roads. I tell people all the time, internet is like a highway, and it depends on what what kind of technology you're using, You might have a Super 2 or, you know, a 4-lane highway, it may be smooth, it may be not, it may be a dirt road. It just depends. That's why I compare it to all the time. And also remember, when you put a not so great car, no matter what the highway looks like, you may not be going that fast. If your router's out of date, that isn't the highway's fault.
I'm impressed she knows what a Super 2 is.
So, well, I've researched this, because there's a lot of comparisons. It's expensive to build actual roads, and this is the information road of the future. You know, good or bad, whatever you think of the internet.
Are you going to eastern Marion County, like Florence and
Not, no.
the
I
lake?
think, isn't there somebody doing that down
I
there?
believe Idotech is doing that.
Yeah. They're doing, because they're going.
They're coming down
they're
50.
going- Yeah, they're coming down, they went down 77 across 50, I think
Yeah.
they're going to Florence and on that way.
They went to Cottonwood Falls
Yeah.
last,
Okay,
with the
yeah,
surge
okay.
grant, so I imagine they're coming back through. I don't know that, I don't know I didn't see their name listed on this particular grant.
Do you guys have any feel what's gonna happen in Washington? Is in this money
DC?
they're talking about that they passed yesterday, you know?
I do not,
Are you gonna get any of it?
I do not, I mean.
to,
So I guess, yeah, that's what I'm looking for right now is a motion, and if, unless you have any other questions, just a motion to provide a letter of support, which I emailed to Tina. In the event you would okay,
Yeah.
as suggested, you can put whatever you want in the letter.
I make a
And
motion to
then-
approve letter of support for this project to get to Peabody, Durham, and Lehigh.
I would second that.
Have a motion by me, second by Jonah, to support this program and get a letter of support, letter of support sent to you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm just gonna clarify, I am a member of TCT. As a member.
Well, this will not be under the
But
cooperative.
it's under the,
It's
I just
under
wanted
the-
to
yeah.
clarify, and then
Mhm.
if I can vote, I'll say aye, and also thank the members of TCT as the
Yes.
parent company of
Yes.
TCW, which is rural people who came together to get service to
Mhm.
areas that didn't have service.
I would leave that determination to you.
Well,
Ben.
if there's not any economic gain
Nope.
from it, so
Yeah, I
that's
know.
fine.
I don't.
He's already got his cable.
5-0.
Okay. Unless you have any other questions, I'll let you get on with your business. I will hand these out. We'll give these to each of you so you can get a hold of me. And this, David already knows about the smart rule because he was on my video for me.
When did you send that email?
This morning.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you got it or not. If you didn't, get right
I
back
haven't.
to me and I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll get you something.
I haven't, yeah.
This.
I had already saw this on
And I've been talking. I know
Facebook yesterday.
You were talking to. I've been talking to you for a while now. I hope I have enough for everybody.
Oh, all right.
You're already in my phone, so I
You know,
don't.
you
Oh,
get-
okay.
Kent, you were talking about getting service. I live right across the street from the Southwestern Bell
Yeah.
switching station. The Team Network comes across the street into the front of my yard and up the alley, and I asked them, mind if I get a temporary drop? And they said no.
Yeah.
So, you know, but.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the backhaul things. It's, like I said, it's like you'll have a one-way road going right by your house, but then to be able to get the stuff back, you have to build another road and then not have
But
that.
that really had nothing to do with it. I
Oh.
just didn't think that I should have something like that, you
Oh,
know, in my
goodness.
front yard, but anyway.
Well, shoot,
So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Before you leave,
Yes.
I saw it on Facebook last night, and I went ahead and made sure that Stephen Owens is aware of it, our
Oh.
state rep,
Oh, thank you.
so.
Stephen Owens is your state, okay, I might get a hold of him and see if he would do
Since he said, it's a state thing, so.
Yeah.
Well, does John Barker need to?
Yeah, you should probably.
John Barker, okay, I can get a hold of him. I've got both their emails
Okay.
and I know people there, so. Thank you, guys, and, yeah, if we have more opportunities with Grant, I'll be looking for him all the time and probably coming to see you again. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And lady, have a good day.
Okay, Tina, moving on to the business part of it. Regional Commission meeting, let that start with it. Whatever you have.
Okay. So I just received notification that Clay County is going to host a regional county commissioners meeting, and this would be on Tuesday, September 7th, starting at 5:30 for a meet and greet, and then the meeting following that. And this, she's asking for an RSVP by August 20th. And it will be at the Clay County Historical Museum in Clay Center.
That's right where the muggy bubble stops. Go further north than that, and all of a sudden the humidity drops off.
That's a Tuesday.
Tuesday, September 7th, yeah. I can make a copy of this for everyone, and then if you want to let me know, you know, as soon as you can, as far as your
For you guys that have never been to one, they're very informative.
Yes.
We haven't had one now since year before last.
Yeah. 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
The last
Okay.
thing I went to was in KAC down in Wichita.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have a COVID update that I was just emailed. As of 7:30 this morning, Marion County has 15 active cases, 0 hospitalizations. We do have 1 reported Delta variant. And she said, keep in mind the whole genome sequencing is not reported at the same time as the positive is reported. So there's a lag. And it requires a process that can take up to 5 to 7 days before being reported out. And keep in mind, not all positive samples are tested. And she says, KDHE provided this information regarding what WGS prioritization. All samples sent to I think this is the KDHE lab. All samples sent to KHEL for PCR testing will automatically be put on for WGS testing if there is enough virus in the specimen to get a whole genome. They define enough virus in the sample as the PCR test having a count value of less than 30. All WGS samples are prioritized using the following criteria: vaccine breakthrough, patient hospitalized, patient deceased, sample comes from a county with low testing sequencing numbers, sample comes from a county with low vaccination rate, and everything else that doesn't meet the above criteria. So that is what was provided. In your packet, you did have some information from KDHE, just a water notice. In your packet, you had a job description for the administrative specialist 1 position in the treasurer's office. They're getting ready to hire this position because they'll be having staffing changes with the new treasurer coming on in October, and so they're looking to hire someone now to start training, which required this job description to be updated. And so these are the proposed changes, and generally we bring those to you to be able to approve the new job description before we advertise the position or provide those job descriptions to the applicants.
Does it meet our pay plan criteria?
Yeah, I didn't have any issues with any of the suggested changes.
Motion to approve the recommendation on the administrative specialist 1 treasurer's office.
I have a motion by Jonah, second by Dave Mueller. All those in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
I have the minutes from August 2nd.
Move to approve the minutes, August 2nd.
Second.
I have a motion by Dave Mueller to approve the minutes of August 2nd, second by Jonah. All those in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Wow, just crashed there.
We have the, well, okay, let's see. as you know, the lease for the building where planning and zoning is located is up for extension right now. And so I think Sharon is asking for a 1-year extension of that lease from the board. And I have a copy of the lease here. I did not put it I don't think I put it in your packet, but.
Has there been that many changes?
No, there would be no changes to the lease. It would just be taking the option to do one of our 1-year extensions.
Any discussion?
I'd make a motion to approve that 1-year extension lease for planning and zoning.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Kent Becker to extend the lease by 1 year, second by Jonah Gearing for the planning and zoning. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
You abstain?
Yeah.
4 to 1 abstention, Dave Crowfoot.
Okay, it does have a place for chairperson to sign. Did you look at this?
I did, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I have no issue with it. That's, I asked, since they had prepared the original agreement, they wanted to do it, they just pumped back with this.
I'm sorry, I just got this, so I did not, I didn't get it in the packet, or I didn't give you a copy, so feel free to pass it down and take a look at it, but this would be, a few weeks, well, back in March, you had, made a motion to, create an addendum to the Bachman and Company contract regarding planning for the, Pilsen.
And that was brought up again a
activities.
couple of weeks ago, and that instruction was provided.
Yeah.
Sharon sent that a little while, I guess before noon. I know I took a quick look at it. Since they had prepared their original contract, you usually give them the option if they want to do the addendum draft. I don't see an issue with it.
And I can read that out if you want me to, I just,
Based on staff review, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve for the chairman to sign.
It's all commissioners.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Wait a minute, we voted for the $5,000, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
We already have a vote for it.
Okay.
This
but
is
this is just to approve the actual.
This is the actual
Document.
document
Okay.
binding them and us,
Oh, okay.
because we.
So we make a motion to approve this?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, Joe Knox accepted it then.
Okay.
And second by
I'll second.
Dave Mueller. All those in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Okay, so was it Dave Crowfoot or David Mueller that approved?
David
it?
Mueller, second.
Okay,
He did a sign language over there.
And then Dave Crowfoot did it separate, they used separate arms, but basically it was one after the
Okay.
other.
We'll sign this dude and get it done.
I'll take that. Just decided that. I've seen it before, but we've just never signed it.
okay, the next thing that I have, we have extended the, maintenance on our current, server as long as we can, and that ends in October. And so this is the reason you put a line item in the budget for AS400, because this is the new AS400 that we will need to have in place when our current maintenance expires in October. And so the price of the new server is $27,000 $40 basically. It's $27,039.99.
That includes.
And that includes,
installation and all that.
yes, and that includes 3 years of maintenance. There will also be some IT time that, on our side, that'll be separate from this, because it'll take some coordination with our vendor.
Is this a one-time charge?
Yeah, we have ongoing maintenance, but this, every year, that we always have on the
Yes.
server, but this one includes 3 years of maintenance. And we have a $50,000 line item in the budget to cover this cost.
That's this year's.
It was in this year, we carried it to next year in the budget document, but if we spend it this year, we will just not have it available next year to
Okay.
spend. We have authority in either budget year to take care of it.
Okay. You've heard that, and this is we used to have a commissioner that really lost it when you talk AS400, but we don't have that no more, so.
Okay, in light of that, I would like to make the motion to approve the purchase of AS400 server replacement, $27,000 at $40.
I will second that.
Would you like to make that motion again? No, I have your motion, Dave. Thank you, Dave Mueller, for making the motion to approve this, and Jonah Gehring for second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Okay, thank you. And Chairman Dalkey, I'll just have you put your signature on that approval.
It's a necessary evil, it just has to be.
You don't want to operate without a maintenance contract. That would be disaster.
Thank you. Okay, and that's all I have at this time.
ARP administrator.
Scott Lloyd and John Albright are coming for that.
Okay, all right.
Specific
Good.
agenda
Okay.
item. They decided they'd just come and answer questions on that. So-
Very good. All righty.
So I put that on for the 2 o'clock agenda item.
Okay. Good enough for that.
Okay.
So then we'll back up and start up at the top again with Road and Bridge. Bryce. Go.
Back up, go forward, back up, go forward. All right, a couple things here for you. Been talking with the crushed concrete, he is now finished, according to what he has to say. He sent us an invoice in. I have K-State scheduled for the last 2 weeks now. They're coming in this Friday to do a final flyover of Lincolnville. I am very confident that we will be over what we originally had planned with that tonnage. He has requested again more payment. I guess with commission approval, I'd like to pay up to that planned quantity until we can verify the actual quantities that were done that way. So he at least gets some money and we will still be covered. Like I said, I'm very confident that we're over that now.
So you're saying fulfill the dollar amount on the contract?
Yes.
Then
Be a project.
hold off on whatever extra
Yeah.
estimated tonnage?
Yeah. That'd be approximately $50,000, whatever's left out of that, so.
Any other questions?
I'd move to proceed with payment.
Okay.
Everything's clean?
Yeah. Did a good job.
Good.
That's
Just
it.
took forever.
Okay, have a motion by Dave Mueller to proceed with the payment up to the original bid. Is that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Second by Jonah Gehring. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
All right, I brought back some information to talk about 190th Bridge. Do you want to talk about that or that road, I should say, whether you want to or not?
Well, we're gonna have to talk about it sometime.
Okay.
But what I asked Bryce over the weekend was to bring back where it's at on the fracture critical. If it is, what do we have to do? And what all are we required as a commission? So Bryce, is that correctly what I asked you?
Well, yeah.
Is that
and
a navigable waterway being?
it is part of the South Cottonwood River. So anything we do there will be involved with permits.
Bridges.
And, yep, without that. It's Bridge 128 on our off-road system. It has a 21.5 sufficiency out of 100. So that is based on 4 different factors, basically approach, waterway opening, all that kind of stuff. Basically, the lower the number, the worse it is. It is the second lowest to the one that we just submitted on 320th and Wagon Wheel, which is at 21. So the biggest thing that is scary about it now is, from an engineering standpoint, you can see 2 of the longitudinal beams showing right down the middle of it. That's a telltale sign that you've lost a lot of concrete over the top of that thing. There should be at least 2 inches of cover over it. I don't know if there ever was. That's the big thing that's scaring me. And again, it's kind of got a little bit of a meandering waterway. Part of the reason why the bridge is suffering on the west abutment is the water kind of goes at the abutment. Once it hits the abutment, then it turns around and comes back out and goes farther east.
Back east,
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, theoretically, if it would be possible, it'd be nice to move the waterway a little bit. You gotta be so careful when you deal with permits and stuff on that. But that's the biggest thing. It has a 16-foot roadway, so very, very close for some of the tractors and stuff that may go across it. Implements, probably not. So obviously a width issue there. I believe one of the corners have been hit pretty hard too, but it's rated in poor condition. It's got a 5-ton rating, which they only go down to 3. And that is supposed to be per axle. So really it wouldn't take much to, to overload that bridge if that's the case. Now, again, the thing is as scary as the exposed I-beams. I mean, it doesn't take much for those. The more they're exposed, the less they can hold as far as load going across them. That also allows them to be susceptible to more damage if something got dropped on or whatever else. The concrete may take that impact, but it is not fracture critical. I mean, we do have I think it's like 4 or 5 beams going across there, but Cook Flat Strobel in their engineering report estimated $340,000 for completion or to replace. But the bridge is only part of the factor, and the fact is, if you go west off the bridge up there, we've got the north right-of-way slope is 10 to 12 foot higher than the roadway. We face a terrible problem trying to keep that road from washing out. Very sandy soil over there. So anyway, that's why to say to close the road, but you look at what we spent, just in the bridge. If we go to replace that bridge, we're probably talking minimum of 2 years. By the time we go through the permits and design and everything else to get that done, unless we get another cost share or whatever else, that would be totally on the county. But I mean, we could save it for, one of the cost shares. I would imagine we could probably put it under, I don't know for sure if it would make the qualifications for the local bridge improvement program, which we have a lot more latitude over. But the biggest thing is just, going through the permits and design to get that done. So
there's a lot of factors here. If the rest of you haven't made a meeting with Jeremy Peters or Ryan Peters, you need to. I mean, I was out there last Thursday or Friday night. I don't remember which night I was out there, but and I met with Ryan and his wife, and then the neighbor to the west on the south side, he come down and talked for quite a while too. But if this bridge was to close and not be able to go through there, you're telling a person to take their tractors and equipment to go to their fields around on the highway on the north side, which is 15, and then if you go to the west side, it's 15 highway. If you tell them to go to the south, you're talking a road that stays wet quite a bit, worse than this one does.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of factors there when you just say close the bridge and look at it. And I guess I didn't hear, out of all the facts you told me, I didn't hear that we have to do anything.
Well, as of right now, we don't. We still have a bridge out there that has a 5-ton capacity plan, based on those recommendations. That bridge may withstand whatever else. It may have something happen tomorrow. That's the liability we take with that structure. And to say that that bridge is never overloaded when things go across there, you know, I honestly, just like my barricades out at Canada, I reset them 3 times this morning in 3 hours. So when it comes to doing that, people don't care. I'm gonna go across there, been going across there for 40 years and, you know, but as soon as you go across there, if something happens, then where's the liability from the county?
Correct. The locals there that was at the meeting with me, they knew, they said, we don't take nothing across here. It's just empty access to go across and make it short instead of going around tractor wise and things like that.
I talked to Ryan also, and he said, we know we can't run the county equipment over that. But he said, but then again, yeah, there's a liability for us.
If you're running a
If they run up on the highway and we've closed that road,
Yeah.
we're still liable.
Yeah. You know, taking, you know, granted, Chisholm isn't great going south, but 180th isn't great. They can go down to 170th, which is a lot better road, but. You know,
That's further mileage.
And I understand that. And like I said, where economically do you look at the fact is that the extra cost that they are experiencing, how much that be, how often that be compared to what it would cost the county. And again, the bridge is only one part of it. We're still going back that every time a major rain, we're you know, you can see all the water runs to the south side of that road and being really sandy soil. So again, I totally understand either way.
This whole section between 15 and Nighthawk and Clear to Marion, between 180th, 170th, 190th up through there with the whole river bottoms running through there. I mean, that affects us all the way across there.
Yeah, and it's a really sandy soil that just.
And then the question was brought up, how do we determine the bridge importance? Because there are some people that knows about 230th and Eagle, and it's on a dirt road. And so that's, you know, they're judging on how we're to determine what our criteria is too, so.
One of the factors that comes into there is the fracture critical for 230th.
230th.
But I mean, again, it's like anything else. We've got so many needs out there. Where do you want to start? And
So you see,
Yeah.
When I went out and looked too, and I got from the conversation, his biggest concern is taking equipment down Highway 56.
Right.
He says that's just, you know, he hates to send his kids out there because
Yeah.
Well, it's,
you can't see and people try to pass.
Yeah.
like you said, it's scary.
Yeah.
Even though we see people coming down, it is scary.
And Highway 56 should be a no passage on the whole thing.
but it does.
You can't pass.
But it still doesn't matter because people are still going to pass
I
where
know.
they want to. Now, here, just thinking out loud here, I haven't looked at it, but I just wonder that if there is an option to rework going south and then see what 180th would be like going across. Highway 15 doesn't carry near as much traffic as what 56 does, so that would be something to look at. But I do know that it's a dirt road with not much maintenance on it, but that may be something that we can look at too. And I don't know what the structures, if anything, are like there too.
And I haven't looked at that.
I got the information. Like I said, the only thing that scares me right now is just the bridge. Like I said, we can, say, hey, we're gonna keep it open, and then the first truck that goes down there, boom, so.
Interesting enough, is I asked the reasons, and from both of them, and then the landowner that owns the land on the north side of that road. And it's the same situation as we run into up at 310th and Chisholm, right north up there. We have a landowner that wants it closed for his deer, and we've got a landowner that wants to use it for the drivability and usability of it too. So we've got both sides, different locations, but the same criteria for reasoning for one. One person wants it closed for hunting and stuff like that, and the other one just wants to use the usability. So,
But has anybody had anybody call them and want this road closed?
no.
Okay. Because normally we have two sides.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose if you did, you'd have to have the official public hearing and stuff to that effect.
Like
When it's vacated,
Huh?
when it's vacated, does that take away some of the liability?
You give it back to the landowner, but
Yeah.
who's gonna take care of it?
Yeah.
They don't
That's
want
ultimately what it comes
They don't
down
want
to.
it.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, and I'm trying to, I think there was power lines going through there too, wasn't there? On the north side? I think there was.
way?
Yes, there is.
Is there? On the
Because-
north
because
side?
that's part of the
There is,
reason.
well, you got that one landowner down in the corner, does theirs come from the?
Must come up through there.
It goes east and west.
Yeah, because I was thinking that's why the ridges are so high on the north
North
side, is
side.
because there's no way to get the power poles out. Now, something else to look at too, with the agreement of the landowners, if you did want to save the road and cut down on maintenance, we could do the same issues like we did on Eagle, south of 170th, where all the landowners that gave us permission, we went in and pushed all the stuff into the roadway and made it, much better road than what it was. So,
Floyd did on Chisholm too.
what's that?
Did on Chisholm
Yeah,
too.
yep. I mean, that's an option too. But anyway, there's nothing that needs to be done right away, but
You
it's
can't
just,
put a ditch in there.
what's that?
You can't put a ditch.
Well,
in.
as I said, right now the water comes down, it goes across the road into the south ditch and it washes several feet deep down through there. And until we can figure out, number one, to have it stop raining, which doesn't really matter whether I ask that or not, then what can we do with the water that does come down?
So,
I
so
guess
say
if
it's 2 years from now and something has to be done. What are the options? Navigable waterway, you can't put a tube in. It's either a bridge or is it low water crossing? Is it-
We could look at low water crossing there too, but you're gonna face the same thing there that you do all the other places, is getting it put into place so that it functions correctly. But even putting the bridge in, or putting a low water crossing in, still will not deal with the problems to the west of there, because now if that material comes down, it fills right over top of the, like I said, it's everything has consequences, but.
Bad location.
Well,
I know, talking with Brian Peters, I mean, they realize how bad that road is. He said, I've been on it since I was in the 6th grade. He said, the bridge is probably not in any worse shape than it was when I was in the 6th grade. We know we can't run the semis and stuff over it, but we want it just because we don't want to put anybody on a highway. And they'd be forced to go to a highway if that road closed.
well, like I said, we can just leave it for now. Now, again, if we've got it closed right now because of the bridge. And I just look at the fact is that that's the part that scares me, is having the exposed beams going down there.
Has it limited some of the silliness having those signs out there?
Because people don't pay attention.
No, that they don't go down there and get stuck, and or do you know?
They won't stop.
If people want to go down there, they're going to. I mean, it depends on how much rain and stuff like that, how much silt there is, whether people get stuck.
Is there any benefit to setting a sign at Chisholm at 56 saying no outlet when wet?
56 in Chisholm.
There's a
15 in Chisholm?
no
Going east.
56 in Chisholm.
Going
So
south,
Get ready to
okay.
go south, so you know 15's coming up, and
It's-
pleasant way of saying this, but it's a potty break time.
Yeah, don't turn this
And
corner.
They
Yeah.
pull
Well-
off, and then they go down their road, thinking they get back on 15.
It's no different than going north roundabout on 210. And GPS says, oh, you missed your turnaround, you're gonna do this and this. If that's what the GPS, that's what it's gonna tell people, that's what they're gonna do. And again, signs don't mean anything. Unless you put a regulatory sign out there that says, black and white, or
Right.
red and white, or whatever else, but it's just like road closed, it's the same thing, it's a $75 fine for going around them. It's, in comparison to what could happen, is ridiculous, but that's what the law says. And again, people aren't gonna pay attention to signs. I'm sure right now, even if it's closed, there's people still driving down it. I mean, like I said, they're moving barricades left and right on me, so. But I mean, if you want me to open it up and we'll leave it at that 5-ton, that's the part that scares me. But again, if we're going to, say we're gonna leave it closed, it isn't gonna get any better until it's replaced or removed in whatever in its place. So
Do you know of anybody building the same type bridge that Andy used to build?
the very similar is this that we're using with Husker Steel, and they're using Norfolk Contracting. It's a very similar system, steel beams and stuff like that. But, and again, unless we get support or whatever else, it's going to be 100% county funded. But I mean, that process does go quicker than doing the other part of it. So
We used to be able to build a bridge in that same neighborhood with Andy, somewhere around 130, 140,000.
price of steel right now.
But
Bill.
steel is something that's
Yep.
probably,
Yeah, and honestly, that's why the project that we have there on Goldenrod, that's why it's been pushed off, is availability of steel. They just can't get it. I mean, they're getting so much that, or little by little. So, but is that gonna change? I would think so, but no guarantee. But again, without putting some kind of a cost share or local bridge improvement program on there, it's gonna be 100% again, so. And again, the bridge just deals with the bridge and not the rest of the roadway.
right. I mean, that's gonna be a problem that's, I don't know how you can fix it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is it's a constant liability, you know, forever how long until we can figure out what to do with the water, but I haven't really researched enough to see if there's any other place to get the water out of there. Who knows what has happened? Very similar to 170th between Indigo and Jade. I mean, that thing has been overtopped so many times, it's sandy over there.
Yeah.
So,
That's that whole river bottom through
yeah.
there. What does the commission feel like? Does anybody have any general feelings here? Dave, did you get a chance to look at it? Bueller?
I did not.
Well, we can, if you guys want to spend some more time thinking about it, come up with different options, we can keep talking about it.
At this time, I just didn't not do anything, but I'd like
We're off on
everybody.
the north side of the road there. by
What
the-
about when they
by the
need to get
bridge.
down there with those
Erosion.
closed signs?
No.
Yeah, Brad, could you chip in on the, refresh us on the road closed signs?
Farmers still allowed to go past the road closed sign? I mean, are they to get to their field?
Technically speaking, I think anytime you go around or move a road closed sign, it's,
Once we posted as road closed, that's what it's supposed to mean. And
yeah.
I've been in that argument with those guys face to face, Bryce has too, I'm sure. You know, they'll move them, they'll go around them, and yeah, you're exactly right, statutorily, it's fine, but.
Yeah. Now, if I understand right, farmers are not criminally liable for bridge damage, but they are civilly
Yes.
liable. Is that, and that usually means that their piece of equipment is sitting at the bottom of the bridge, you know, that's collapsed, and they're like, well, I guess I have to take it anyway. But then we have to look at the fact is that goes to the insurance company or whatever else. But ultimately, I don't want to see that because I don't want anybody injured or.
Would the commission accept taking the road closed signs down and putting signs at 15 and 190th? And then the other end of it would be 190th and Chisholm? Putting signs on both ends that says low load limit or low, what, I don't know what you could put.
Again, you're putting up a sign that says.
Unmaintained roads.
Well, yeah, we put up a sign that says we are now, we know that there's a low.
Inherent hazard.
Yes. So then, I guess ask Brad, what does that do for us liability wise?
It increases our liability. The other thing that comes up with it, it's a good idea till you think through what someone does. They come in and let's say we had a 5-ton limit on that bridge. Somebody decides they're feeling lucky that day and they go over that with 7 or 8 ton and damage it irreparably. Next person comes over with some piece of equipment at 3 tons and it collapses. We have the liability pretty much at that point because they certainly obeyed what we had said. And we put those signs out there at the ends going, hey, we know we've got a risk here. And we have to prove that the other guy damaged it. Well, I'll never have.
Yeah, it's like,
So it all falls to us.
travel at your own risk.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the next month and last week? And what's the difference? None?
Yeah.
Leave the same then?
No difference.
I'd be in favor of taking down the road closed sign, put up travel on your own risk. Temporarily then.
Well,
Look further
and
into it.
I guess the other thing is, I don't know of a regulatory sign that would do that because that would be no different than a minimum maintenance
Right.
sign that
Private
is.
drive.
Or minimum maintenance.
Well, what I'm getting at is that they're advisory or cautionary, they are not regulatory, therefore not enforceable. So I guess from a liability standpoint,
From a liability standpoint, our best bet is the road closed.
yes.
I
But I'm
look
saying
at, I
is-
look at it this way, the people that are gonna run heavy stuff over that have been doing it all the time, they know about it. And the idiots that go out there are gonna be in their Jeep or pickup, so I don't worry about them collapsing the bridge.
Okay. Well, so you want me to take the road closed down and try to fix it back up?
Commission, ask them whether you want to take the road closed signs down and pick them up and leave it alone.
I make a motion to take the road closed signs down.
Second. Have a motion by Kent, second by me, to take the road closed signs down and leave it as is. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Dave Crowfoot?
Aye.
Dave Bueller?
Nay.
Nay. Jonah? Aye. 4-0, 4-1.
Okay. We'll try to get that done, get this couple days. Nighthawk update, the full depth reclamation is back running today. They had a motor go out on their milling machine I told him 2 weeks ago, boy, that sounds funny, you know, and like an exhaust leak. Oh no, we just rebuilt it. Well, they had CAT come in on Tuesday and said, well, maybe it's an injector. No, it's not an injector. Maybe it's a valve. No, it's not a valve. It's a push rod that broke and did all kinds of damage. So they swapped motors out of the milling machines. Got them going Thursday, went to start Friday, and while they were shut down, their second remixer had the air conditioning recharged. They went to move it wouldn't move. Then they got it to move, then the drum wouldn't turn. So after about 4 hours, the CAT finally determined they had to redo the whole computer just for recharging the air conditioner. So they basically lost 4 days last week. But yeah, it's one of those things. But anyway, they're back up running today, running real well. Should get up to about 180th. Last week, I think, put it on Facebook, whether you guys knew that or not. We went into Canada, and the pipe right there where the old railroad tracks used to be didn't have a lot of cover. We put a concrete cap over the top of that, so when you go across it with equipment, it'll be a little more supportive. We also removed the abandoned railroad tracks that I guess all the locals knew about it. We assumed the railroad tracks were up on top of the hill. No, they're about 50, 60 foot to the south. And evidently there was, the people on the east side had marked it. The rails were exposed over there. You went about 2-3 foot off the west side, and there they were too. So we went in there and tore all that out about 1.5 foot or so deep, put millings back in there, so that will no longer be a liability. They, fortunately, when they went in there and milled that area off, they went over the top of those tracks about 2 inches. And if they'd have hit that with their milling machine, yeah, that would have been a mess. So anyway, that's all taken care of, and that's the barricades they keep moving me on there. So we're gonna go out this afternoon and put some millings over the top of it, so it'll be traversable. They will be done, well, I don't want to jinx anybody. They will be done with the double chip seal up to 140th. And so everything south of 140th, Peabody Street, as well as 60th will be done as of today. They will leave the project because there's nothing else for them to do. Go do some jobs and then come back in a week or two. Best guess, the full depth reclamation will be done the end of this week. So next week they would just be left with milling, and then once they're done with the milling, then they will move up to 330th. So that's assuming no breakdowns, no bad weather, or whatever else. So anyway, things look really good as far as that goes. So I've had the mail lady is just absolutely beside herself. She loves the smooth roads and stuff to that effect. So I've heard, well, of course, a lot of comments too that it's going well. So
Seems to be, they're just concerned from the city council member there on the west on Peabody Street, but and just where they left a rough ridge or something, you know, they're 22 foot, was it right at their edge of their 22 foot or whatever they was getting. They left it there, and it's sort of, it's going to wear pretty.
Well, and those are some of the things that you kind of deal with, is what you have beforehand. It's really, really tough to get rid of afterwards. We do have the tractor and mower down there. I want to try to clean those trees up on the west side. They're man, for what this year, they're really growing out there. We're also gonna go back, once we get the trees trimmed back or removed this winter. We've talked about it, redoing the ditches and stuff. This process is leaving more material than what we had expected. We have the same thing down on 60th, but it's one of the side effects when you're kind of don't have the right of way to work with. There's not much to do. One of the options is next time is we'll actually set it up to where county forces and or the contractor, we may haul off some of those extra spoils.
So did it go all the way down Peabody Street to 60th?
No, just the first half mile of paved section.
Stopped, stopped before
And
back to the park.
Yeah, I've actually kind of looked at the fact is that maybe with the city and the landowners benefit, whatever else, maybe that would be something that we could go in there, because those trees are just killing us through there. That if we were to get rid of those trees, rebuild the road, raise it up considerably, maybe we could go back and
Chip seal it?
well, I don't know about chip sealing, if that would be enough, but even if we could go back and start with millings or whatever else to start out the way, maybe we could put an asphalt overlay on it, whatever else, but then it would be a paved road, cut down on the dust and get rid of the trees, you know. Wouldn't take a lot of labor, but anyway, but no, we stopped at the end of the pavement right now, so I'll get it striped there and hopefully get
It
striped.
does look nice.
Yeah.
It drives nice.
Yeah. In comparison to what we started with,
Yes.
I'm definitely impressed. So, we are going to start patching tomorrow. Steve went down and got a load of oil today. We're gonna start at Remington and work on that. We're also gonna do 275th, north side of the church there. That's actually county road. We've got a couple spots there. And then we'll chip seal that also, which would help with the thing in September. Believe it or not, don't hold me to it, but we are supposed to be getting our new fuel pumps tomorrow. What a fiasco. So anyway, I think everything is ready. All the department heads have their key fobs, so it should be a matter of getting it done. I did send a message to all the department heads that it should be nice to have them fuel up tonight or right away tomorrow morning, just in case.
Just in case.
And in case something doesn't work out, but that's what's going on. So a little bit of follow-up, I guess, with Brad. Commissioner told me that you were working on, or were talking to the sheriff about
Moving the sign there at the lake.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was, not, you don't need anything else from me, I guess, is what I'm looking at, so, okay. And then on the guardrail down there at the watershed, same thing there? Okay.
That one we just went ahead and cleared it.
Okay, I think you were gonna write something or.
Yeah,
clarify.
I need to, and I still do need to do that,
Okay.
because I checked state to see if there's anything in particular I need to do.
Yeah.
For like, something that old, their interest was as little as their curiosity.
Yeah.
About it at this point.
Well, like I said, I'm assuming the watershed was just trying to clean up some file cabinets, whatever else, and found this 50-year-old document in there.
Yeah.
so.
They said if that's what you guys want to do.
Yes.
I think that's kind of the answer I got.
Yeah. I forgot one thing too, is I made an error on the submission for the off-system bridge program. I did make the correction. We went from the county having to put the $300-some-thousand in there, but now that falls under the state. So I had those backwards. Anyway, we got that, they did amend that, and put in a new application. So I sent that to you, Tina, as well. So, but,
And you got your letters of support?
yep, letters of support for 320th Wagon Wheel. Turn those in too, so.
Is that blade patch material up at Pilsen any good?
Yep.
Are we using it?
Oh, I think it'll be fine. We've worked it up and broke it up, and plus the other thing is we'll put the chip seal on it right away too. So, I mean, it's not as good a material as it was last year, but honestly, I don't think it's.
Got the, was it distributor? Is that what?
Yeah.
That up?
Yeah, we blew it, blew a head or something on the distributor, but it's down and back and ready to go. So, otherwise,
You done then, Bryce?
unless you have anything else.
Yeah, I'd like to have an executive session with you for 10 minutes, with you and the board
Okay.
and Brad, and for 10 minutes for personnel performance.
We're gonna put it.
I was gonna put it down there, but
Oh, okay.
since
Okay.
we've moved everybody else up, why?
Okay.
I'm just holding Josh up, so I'm the one that I wanna get it done before, get him done, get that done before get into 2 o'clock. Okay, I move that we recess into executive session for 10 minutes in order to discuss personnel performance pursuant to KSA 75-431-9B for personnel matters of non-elected personnel with Brad and the commission and Bryce for 10 minutes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Kip.
Ken.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
No sense.
This conference will now be recorded.
Executive. Out of executive.
Yeah. Out of executive session, no decisions made. Move on with the minute or meeting, and that'll be Josh Hausman. Go ahead, Josh. What you got to present us today?
The solid waste management plan, the 5-year worksheet. Hopefully everybody got an email over last week. Emailed Tina, hoping that everybody got it and read through it. It's just, we do this every year, just kind of go over it and approve it. You know, I did a few little changes, but nothing real drastic, so.
It looked like all the changes were in red too, so.
Yep, they were.
Easy to spot.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
So, anybody have any questions on it?
Pretty much what it was last year, except for a little bit here and there.
I would accept a motion.
I make a motion to approve the 5-year worksheet plan for solid waste.
Okay. You heard a second?
I'll second
Second by Dave Crowfoot. Motion by Jonah Gearing. All those, any other questions? All those in favor, say aye.
it. Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Do they have to sign anything?
I think I just need
The minutes?
the minutes and then the approval next week when they approve it. I'll need just that piece of it, I believe, but I'll
Okay.
double check and get back with you on that, Tina.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago at the transfer station, our white truck went down, pulled that yellow one out, started using it, had problems with it. I kind of fixed it as I was going. Tires were a big safety issue on it. I did go get tires. That's $3,232.98 is what I put all new tires on it for safety reasons on it. I thought myself it was okay to go do that because of the safety piece of it.
I don't want nobody on the road without safe tires.
Yeah. So I did do that. But that part for the other truck, they said 6 to 8 weeks. So.
So we're waiting on the white truck's parts,
Mm-hmm.
and you're driving the yellow truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we need to note the purchase and approve it?
Yeah.
It's over 2,500.
And what was the total again?
$3,232.98, and that was at Rod's.
I'll make a motion to approve that tire purchase.
Okay, I have a motion by Kent, second by me. All those in favor say aye for tire purchase. Aye. 5-0.
You just want to pass it down.
Okay.
This here's a bit, for cameras and surveillance for the transfer stations, 2 cameras. We've talked about that. We've dealt with this, Bud dealt with this guy the last time, or the first time. We've got 1 camera and a monitor. And he's got all this stuff that we could just add to it, to add the 2 cameras and the wiring and then the recorder to it.
It'll connect to your existing monitor.
Yep, it'll connect to the existing monitor.
So it'll give you a total of 3 cameras?
Yes, 1 on the floor and then 2 outside.
Will that suffice for what we need?
I think so, because on that south side, I'm gonna have those two cameras kind of crossing each other so they can see both sides, and then that way if somebody comes up one way and dumps something after hours, we can at least get a plate going either way. That's kind of what I was thinking on that, if we need to.
I'm no guru. I'm the last person to talk about this. I'd probably pass it over to Jonah to ask this, but what about future stuff to hook to this? Things, is this a system that's gonna die? When you say 8-channel, I mean, DVR, I'm thinking of 8-track, but.
We can have 8 total.
8 total. 8 total cameras, so I just wanna make sure that if we're investing the money, that if we come up with another spot for a camera that we can add, we can do what we wanna do, or whether we could communicate it to another screen somewhere, I'm just asking, that's all I'm doing.
I was looking at the 4-in-1 bullet camera. If it's a indoor, outdoor, all weather type, it'd be beneficial to up the number of cameras and put them maybe externally. A couple of them out there. Just
Take whatever happens.
because if there's some cameras up there, there'd be with those dumps in front of the doors, you know. Maybe it'd discourage it.
That's what they're for.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
That's what I was going for on the south side, where they always
On
dump.
the outside, the two
Okay.
outside
Yeah.
doors.
But let's talk about the whole scene down there. I mean, Josh wasn't here, he was on vacation. We have a trailer dump over. If it was on camera, you'd see everything that happened there, even though we know probably what happened on that particular case.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking at the price for cameras. Why don't we just fill it up? Why don't we just do the 8 channels?
What does everybody think about that? Taking the west side, the north side, having a camera on the east side, at least 3 more cameras to where you can see things. And also, I didn't get it on the agenda for today, but we do have a nut that'll be coming on the agenda, a price for a door on the north side, Josh, to where you can walk in on that north side. So I'll get it on next week's agenda. See if we can do
So
that.
what you're saying is an 8-channel will take 8 cameras?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I take it as.
Should be, because the recorder can only save to 8 spots.
So if we bought more cameras, would we get a little better price?
Well,
I'd probably say not right now.
Probably
But
get the same price, but then you gotta factor in, there's probably gonna be more labor
Yeah.
and some back boxes, so it's not just a clear cut 300 or whatever, $65 or 60.
Does Lloyd have to do something on this? Have you been in touch with him on
No,
that?
this all goes in, we should just be in a recorder in the transfer station. Nothing,
Okay.
I don't
Does it,
think
well,
Lloyd.
being this can be expandable, would it be best just to go ahead and approve this? And then once it's in, we can say, oh, wait a minute, we got blind spot over here, or we got blind spot over here.
Yeah, I guess that solves his immediate need.
Yeah. I have no problem with that, but I really want to know whether it's just if we do something here, can it, I mean, how long of retainable information does it have? 30 days or?
Should loop system, should record until it's full, and then it starts recording over. So if you don't have anything bad happen in a certain amount of time,
It goes away, the bad, the old stuff.
yeah, so if you don't notice something for 6 months, more than likely you're not gonna catch it on camera. But if you notice it within 30 days, you should be able to catch it before it loops back over itself. That's the way most of them are.
Well, I just wanted everybody to think about it, so and I think that's a good thought, Kent. I have no problem with just doing what we gotta do right now and start with that.
And you-
Signage too, I mean, this is, we gotta get some signs, tell them, go dump your
It's gonna be
Yeah, if it's a
some-
1 or 2 terabyte,
Haven't
we'll run that
forgotten.
thing for a year.
Yeah.
Trying to think of the
And
verbiage.
usually that's where they're at.
Hey, dumbass, Joe.
But if you start throwing 8 channels on it, it's gonna start.
And whether it has the night vision.
It depends if it's continuous
It
or.
does have
slow
night
motion.
vision to it.
It does have night vision.
Yeah, that one camera we do, you can shut up at dark, you can watch the camera and see everything inside in the transfer station, so. it
The
does
other thing
have
that's
night.
nice is the one, if they're on the outside from, the ones at the farm, if you can get a good high quality set, I can't think of the name of that company that Holman sells. Anyway, the license plate even with the night vision, it'll just white out unless you get a really good quality one, which is really important to us to know. If we've got to identify somebody we don't recognize somewhere, who the heck is this? Also facial acuity, it's really good. If it can show out those license plates, it will show that facial set of features as well.
Ain't nothing as good as a deer cam. Trail cam. Yeah, there ain't. Well, I guess we'll go ahead with what we got here. So,
I make a motion that we approve purchase for $1,594 for cameras, 2 cameras and accessories.
Okay, do I hear a second? That's, got one over there. Dave, you ever seconded it? All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. That's it. Should have asked before the vote, do you know if it's got Ethernet capabilities?
Do not think it does.
Just in case you ever had a VPN or something, you could dial it up. You know.
You want to sit at home and watch it, don't you?
I guess that's what my question was. Yeah,
The kids would like it.
Out there, I guess.
See what Daddy does up there?
Well, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes you get hacked because you have online, where you stay a closed loop system, you're good.
Yeah.
So, it both ways. Okay.
It's
Depends
really
on how
nice.
much.
If you've got that distance, especially with the microphone.
How much money you want to
The double
spend?
horn.
Yeah.
We got you, we can see you,
Yeah.
we're calling the sheriff.
Yeah. Or if,
I've
you
done
know,
that.
if he spent a lot of time unable to get
Get a
there,
ring doorbell.
Yeah.
and you can look on your phone,
Yeah.
tell you they're working, oh, I can see them in the break room.
That's one nice thing about the trail cam.
Yeah.
High dollars, you can do that.
Yeah.
Being able to see it remotely is great.
Yeah.
So that's all I had.
Okay.
Any weed department been able to find anybody to apply or anything?
No.
Didn't we have somebody that was asking about some
Yes.
spraying?
Yes, John Thole,
Okay.
and his area over east, northeast.
Okay.
Sarisa.
Northeast of Marion. And it's not thistles, it's the other, what's the weed, the other one?
Johnson grass.
No.
Sarisa.
Teresa.
Teresa.
Yes, that's what he's talking about, so.
Okay.
And he said that she had been doing a really good job of keeping it down up there, and wondered if somebody was gonna come back and help him spray. Well, it's in the ditch, road right away.
Yeah. Okay.
So you might take a look at that when you get time.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I can do it. All right, thank you.
And how about employees for the transfer station?
I've got one I'm getting ready to do a drug test on, and stuff, and that's, then the driver waiting on for his CDL for the Kansas piece of it, so.
He can't drive for us without having the Kansas driver's license. That's just so weird. I would think,
Yeah.
over the road truck, it must be an interstate type deal.
It is.
Okay.
Under Skittles, and I checked to see if we might be able to get an exception out. If it looks like it's gonna be the time that they told me, like another month, let me know.
Okay.
When I called the state, they said, well, we could try to go ahead and do something in the way of special dispensation under the circumstances for what you're needing it for. It's public service kind of a job. And I said, well, I'll keep that in mind, but I haven't done any more with it, hoping that it would go quicker than they told me it
Yeah,
would.
I talked to him and he said he got all his confirmation back saying everything went through. He said probably another week or two before they hopefully send it, so.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping by the end of the month
Which is about what I was expecting.
We need to get Josh off the road. He's got other things to do.
Otherwise, you're gonna have those Ethernet cameras. Yeah. Did get a compliment. Somebody said they were driving down some dirt roads recently, saw a bunch of dead trees in the ditches. Knew you had to have been behind it, so they were very appreciative.
I'll take a compliment, but it's one of them I really can't because I don't spray the trees. That could be the REA doing that run around spraying the trees, so.
Just say thank you and go on.
All up down 15.
Yeah.
Which I
Take the
thought
credit.
was-
Yeah.
That's interesting. Might have to partner up with REA. Hey, keep that up.
Well, they just contracted, I mean, it wasn't REA, but it was, they were spraying under the highlands.
Good deal. Josh, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I mean, it'll make you a better deal. Take him come down with me and I'll just buy you a cup of tea or something in the morning sometime.
He's already gotten ready to
Getting
deal.
ready for- yeah.
Oh, God, did I just turn British?
Yeah.
You gonna give me a cup of tea?
Yeah, there you go. Iced tea.
Randy, I could go join again.
Okay,
I mean,
alrighty. Yeah.
I know the boss, I can get off pretty easy.
Okay.
You've said that before, that you
Give me,
go to boss.
give me 30 minutes notice.
Okay, all right.
I can do it too, whoever.
Okay.
It's only two words.
Before you get price,
Oh,
all together.
Just head that direction.
They come in the back door.
Yeah, we weren't sure where you wanted us at. We did bring, just in case you got really tough with us today.
Some accounting?
Yeah. It's an inside joke
Yes.
with Tina.
Yes. Should have brought a bunch of cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, some hiding out there.
You didn't get,
Are there any
you
hiding
didn't get
in-
clawed or
Yeah,
scratched?
there's a couple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one behind you over there. Watch out.
Scott,
lead
we'll
back
probably
from the
have you
bushes.
over here
Oh, over
because of
there.
the microphone.
Okay,
I'll let you
okay.
on the hunt.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know about that.
You got a fancy desk there. Jim.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Okay, well, good to see y'all. And we were coming over to talk about, we call it the rescue program, but before that, I thought I might just talk about the budget just real quick, because I hadn't been back since we kind of pretty well finalized it. Tina's looked through it. I think we've got all the numbers pretty well nailed down. Bryce did ask me if I got, he's probably listening. Bryce did ask me if we got the 24.5 million stuck in the line item there, and I
He
said,
didn't ask
I
you.
don't think so, not quite.
He didn't ask for it.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna start on the back page. I think Tina's got a copy of the budget for you. On the back page, we'll start there first, and I'm just gonna highlight a couple things here, but when I left here the last time, you all did some work in between there, and then Tina looked it over. But if you look at the right-hand column of that last page, you see 75, the second number from the bottom down. Okay, so the revenue neutral rate below it is 66.412, okay? So when I left here, it was the understanding to set it at 75, and then we remember that if we get to the hearing, and you know there was a lot of questions or whatever, because 74 was another number we had looked at, but we decided to go on and put it at 75, and we can always back it off, but we can't add to it. So that's why we put it at 75. And if you look at the 75, I mean there's all the different rates up there. I don't know what all you want to cover here. She was talking about just covering some of the highlights. I think it'd be good to go back probably to the road and bridge. Let's look at that. It's on page 8A. Actually, 8A. Let's go 8 and 8A. And we'll see that this is a little tight. If you look at on 8A, if you look at there's a number by itself there, $2,004. You see that? It's up above the tax of $4,115,000. You go up the column there, and you'll see $2,004. You see that? That's the cash carryover at the end of the year of 2022. But if you flip to the next page on 8B, you'll see that we have some different things that we have put in here. So if you look at the right hand, look at 2021 column and 2022 column, because this is really the fund that probably has the most going on and probably had the most unknowns when I left here, was the road fund, okay? So if you go to the first part's administration, you go to the next part is blacktop. And if you look at commodities, we stuck that, it's the third line down there, commodities 950 in the middle column, 950 in 2022.
And then we actually put the road bond payment of $495 in this column 2022 of that section, okay? And that $495 is based on a $4.5 million bond issue. And I was telling Bryce was asking about there in the hall, and I was telling him that we went on and put it in there, but I'm not sure by the time you get to the bond issue and all that, I'm not sure if that payment will actually be a 2022 payment or a 2023 payment. So we went on and put it in there, and the way, if you remember, the way the budget law works is just because it says $495 there, it can be spent anywhere in any of these line items. So if you go down to the next section, that's the one that's a little concerning maybe, is if you look at gravel roads, and you look at what we spent in 2020 on commodities, 1.5 million, and we spent on contractual right above that 472, the middle column's maybe a little bit weak. It's got 400,000 for contractual and 1.1 million as commodities. And I'm not sure, I don't know, did this rain hit you the other night? I mean, it just dumped in Galva. I mean, it was unbelievable. I thought about you. I go, oh no, there goes the
This
raft.
weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Saturday
the-
night.
That's the first rain we've had since June.
Yeah, it dumped, but it didn't.
Inch and a half.
Just wear on your cracks.
But
Okay,
it was,
okay.
It
Well,
was
good
spread
deal.
out too. It wasn't all
Yeah.
at once.
Yeah, well, good deal. Anyway, then if you look at the 2022 column on the gravel, then you still see the 400,000 and 1.5. But those are probably the two lines based on what we've talked about and some of the things you're concerned about with working on those roads. And then the rest of it here is pretty well. You have maybe I don't know, Tina, do you know down there on fuel? I noticed it was 259 on 2020 and under the maintenance shop, and then the two other lines there in 21 and 22 was 500,000. Is that just set there as, would that be extra in case or not?
Well, it depends on how things go,
With the fuel
the rest
prices,
of the
yeah.
year, but.
Okay,
I was gonna say, the prices, if they're up,
yeah.
it don't take long.
Doesn't take long. No.
Yeah, I
100,000.
Yeah.
kinda left it alone because I didn't wanna reduce it.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. Okay, I don't know, I don't really have probably anything else. I think all the other things, that was kind of, when I left here, it was a road and bridge and, oh, somebody else got a question?
Well, no, I just wanna mention, Jonah knows that I wanna mention something.
Okay.
Sorry.
I did.
The transfer to special equipment for both years, we reduced that by 50,000 in each year to be able to even make these numbers work.
Right.
So,
Let's see here.
What's the 350?
yeah, to 350 instead of 400. We initially had 400 on both years and we reduced those to 350.
If you look on page 17, that's a great point because just because the cash carryover is $2,004 in the road and bridge fund, if you look on page 17, that's the actual spatial road and machinery equipment fund. If you remember by statute, anything you transfer over there, you can actually transfer back to the road and bridge if it was running short. So we have like during equipment purchases in 2022, 350, and the other 2 years you spent 134 and 100,000. So there might be a little bit left there. I know you were gonna, I think, upgrade your two graders down there, and then below that is the actual cash carryover. So there's some extra funds there in case we did get tight in the road and bridge fund.
And if we get a payment that we're expecting yet this year, that's kind of what I'm relying on for the remaining cash carryover for the road and bridge fund.
Yeah.
Brad,
You got the RMA.
you heard that?
Yeah, there's that, but then there's FEMA one too.
Oh,
Couldn't
yeah.
show up at any.
Yeah, if we did get FEMA money, that's great,
That
but
would be awesome.
the other one,
Don't count on it.
FEMA.
Christmas.
one thing in the general fund, the sheriff had requested the addition of 2 corrections officers, and that is included in here, the way it stands right now, so.
Any other questions? The actual hearing's not till September 7th. I'm not sure when you'll think it on publishing it.
Yeah, I'd like to publish it by next week, the 18th.
Okay.
When was the deadline?
The deadline, it's, well, I had that all written out, but,
I thought it was this week.
no,
Uh-uh.
no.
Because,
We're holding a hearing on this day.
yeah.
We have to publish 10 days ahead, so here, here's 7 days.
30th really.
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so that we would need to publish by this day, because we're once a week. So I'd like to actually publish it a week early.
So we needed to just announce that we were going to exceed revenue neutral by a certain.
Yeah,
Right, which you already complied with. So if you have any suggested changes or anything like that, or we need to make changes to it, we're gonna need to know,
Beforehand.
yeah,
Probably by Friday.
by Friday this week, yeah.
Yeah.
Scott already can read our minds. He already knows what we want. He's got it all figured out in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish. But anyway, I don't know, we made it through there, I don't know, again, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but, the assessed value, hopefully it hangs tight, and, when you got a $20 million assessed value increase, that's a pretty hefty increase, and, Butler seems like I need to talk to him maybe one more time, just to kind of double check with the CFO down there, but, Butler's moving forward with theirs, so theirs was 18 million, so I don't increase, so I don't know, I guess that's the way you do it, and I think you understand that if it would be cut quite a bit, the dollar stayed the same, isn't that right, the mill, in this case with the revenue neutral, I'm not sure if
The way that we understand it right now, the dollars stay the same since
Yeah.
we're holding
Yeah.
the revenue neutral hearing.
Yeah.
However, there are some people that are not interpreting it the same way.
Yeah.
And some people are saying that we're kept in at the rate.
yeah. So when you sent that email the other day, I was going, yikes.
So-
Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
I don't have any. Anybody else?
You can look it over, you have, well, this is Monday, so if you have questions, I mean, most of you can get a hold of me one way or the other, and I'll be glad to, or Tina would have the answers also.
I have to go back and check for my building, you see how much you give me for my buildings.
It's in there.
Yeah, I haven't looked, see it yet.
Dave Mueller's got to look at it, but he's been through yours.
Okay. All right.
The one that was in question was, if you look at page 6A, so just get that answer right now, multi-purpose building, we've talked about the different options like lease purchase or how to handle that. But we put $100,000 there, and it's kind of in the middle there, under the subtotal in the middle, 6,000,006, there, right below it's $100,000 on page 6A.
6A, not 16.
Multi-purpose, yeah, right in the middle.
Yeah, and that way we thought, if we do a 7-year bond, or 7-year lease purchase, then that 100,000 should cover a
Hey,
pretty good payment.
Yep.
And plus you have all this other money that's going to rent, so you would be able to offset a lot of that,
Yep.
those rent payments with the payments.
Interesting, last year's commission budgeted 0.
Randy, we could use that to remodel this building behind us.
Oh, man.
That's a different
discussion.
All right, here we
It's
go
already
again.
closed.
I'm going to 0 again.
Yeah.
All righty.
Next year. The reason why there was 0, Dave Mueller, is because we went from 74 to 76, so we couldn't afford to put any dollars anywhere else.
Okay, Scott.
Okay.
Lead us, before we get sidetracked, go ahead, lead us right on
Okay.
down the road.
So, I just wanted, Tina asked us originally to come over and just talk about we call it the rescue funds, and we had an engagement letter we'd sent over a while back. And I said, well, let's just talk about the budget too, so that they can kind of get that behind them, and then they can look at anything else, so we do a few words clench them. So this part, this is John Albright, and you may have seen him on some Zoom, I don't remember during Spark, but John and Julie and Carlotta and Candace were the Spark team that helped me. Plus another 10 probably on top of that. Yeah, so we had about 15, I think, people at any one time working on Spark. We had 17 counties On this one, we're calling it rescue. The final treasury guidelines are not out yet. John has been reading this lovely material for what, about 2 months now, just keeping up with all the stuff. And what the challenging thing is on this one is, since it's a 3 to 5 year project, depending on when you spend it, it's a 3 to 5 year keep up of all the regulations, everything goes. And if you remember on Spark, there was only a couple changes there between July 15th and March 15th.
Yeah.
And so the reason we came over here today, we were just gonna, I think you got the budget, kind of behind you somewhat now, and you were wanting to look at how this goes forward. John, you can ask John any questions here.
Yeah.
And he's basically read up on everything. I mean, I've learned a bunch. I haven't got back into it yet, so I'm getting ready to dive back into it too. Now that, the final regulations aren't out yet. There's been a lot of webinars. There's been a lot of questions. We're working with, what is it, about 7 counties? Probably in different, 7?
5 more.
Yeah.
Requests.
So we even have people outside the Spark group on this one, so I'm not sure where this one will end up, but it can be quite a journey. But it is spread out a lot more, and so, like, I'll just give you an example. Like Rice County, we're working with them this time. They are actually working with, we got some stuff we got to review for them, but they've got all kinds of projects there. But some of the ones, like sewer districts, if you have a sewer district in your county, or you have smaller cities that maybe need like sewer or water, that's what some of the counties are doing, is kind of combining some of those funds to help them. Because one of the things I've noticed, cities also got some money too. I can't remember what did one of the little cities called us the other day. We did Ramona, I think it was, and didn't they get they got several dollars? Did someone?
Oh, yeah.
How much was it?
13, somewhere in there.
Yeah, they were just dancing in the streets, I think, because they didn't realize they had. But anyway, what's happened is, just think about this. If you go back to the water infrastructure in cities, okay, or real water districts are a little bit different because a lot of them are a little more updated. But those city pipes, like in Galva where I live, they wasn't gonna fix the other side of the street because they have so much water line there to fix before they put a new street on that side of this, on my side, other side of the main street. So I think in some cases, each county's kind of, you have to go county by county, what's the best way to use those dollars and get the most bang for your buck. Now, I asked John this morning this, and he can talk more about any of your questions, but infrastructure was one that kind of keeps coming back up. And some of you know Tom Brown, Mayor in McPherson. He and I meet a lot regularly. And he was telling the other day, he thought, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure they might, now that they got this infrastructure bill, they might do infrastructure. We haven't read anything on that. I think I'm not sure they'll go down that path, but that's the one part, the question we probably get quite a bit. And but anyway, I'm going to turn it over to John. You can ask any question you want.
Not any question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you don't know,
You don't know.
Yeah.
if we don't know it, ask Tina.
Yeah.
That's what I always say on the budget. Just ask Tina.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much you have dug into the American Rescue Plan thus far. Probably not if you've been working through the budget. A lot of the uses are pretty similar to what the Spark funds were, but as Scott said, it's a 3 to 5 year window in which you have to spend. What did you receive? About 2.1 million?
2.308.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get the first half now, and then you can apply for the second half a year from the time you receive the first half. Now the two major changes from Spark to this, a lot more compliance requirements. Through Spark, they pretty much waived most of the compliance requirements. All of the compliance requirements apply. I was telling Tina, I think there were about 25 pages of applicable uniform guidance that applied versus 136 for this program. So there's a lot more hoops to jump through to show that you're using the funds according to what they purpose. As Scott mentioned, the water, sewer, and broadband. And then the one other thing is, do you think your county experienced a revenue loss from 2019 to 2020? Because they'll allow you to go back and calculate that. And if you experience that, you can basically take that and move it over to use in your general operating fund for programmatic purposes. But, so what we've been doing in the counties that signed on earlier is kind of just go almost like a listening session, like what are your priorities, and then how do we make the funds that are available here fit the priorities that you want. Kind of maybe backing up a little bit. So the first thing we actually do is make sure that all of your like reporting structure is in place to handle federal dollars using all the guidelines. You didn't have to do that for Spark. You have to do it for these funds. And so that's kind of one of the first things we look at is just internal controls, procurement policies, conflict of interest, making sure the foundation is laid, and then we move on to the spending. So.
Just to add something to that, like Cali County, I think we're going down the 18th and actually spend at least a day, maybe more, of just going through everything like that to make sure that everything's in place before they haven't even received the money yet, I think.
You didn't want to do it before.
They wanted to wait until they got everything like that looked at, and then they were going to receive the money. So it just kind of depends on each one, but we found that at the end of Spark, they tried to kind of put a Band-Aid on it, internal controls of all those things, and we were trying to do the best job we could to put the Band-Aid on it, but this is going to be a lot more. It has to be done, and the auditor will write. It'll be fairly significant findings if we don't have it.
So that means specific policies that might be more in depth than what we currently have. So those will have to be reviewed and potentially additional policies adopted.
And what we're finding, your county's a little bit larger than some of the others that we're working with, but some of the really small, and then especially your smaller cities, they have a policy, it's just not written. Like everybody just knows, you go here and, go down the hallway, talk to that person, and then it just happens. With the federal guidance, it has to be written.
So infrastructure, roads and bridges are still outside of the rescue plan.
As of right now.
Yeah, so far.
And that's the big thing that people are wanting. And all but one of the counties, that's the biggest issue. They want to use those funds. And the weird thing is, like, you have a, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a dump?
No.
Okay.
Don't have a line.
We do. It's all closed.
Yeah. We don't have a functioning landfill.
Yeah, we don't have a functioning.
So some county, you can even use it in certain cases on things like that, just because it somehow relates to keeping your drinking water clean.
Oh, well, we do test some wells.
Oh,
The monitoring on those wells goes on, I think, I don't know what year we're in, but it's a 30-year monitoring process, I believe. And we're probably we got 15 maybe left, something like that maybe. But there's a cost to that. I don't remember how much it is. It's around
$2,300 or something.
23. I don't know if that applies or
But
not.
over 15 years, it's
Yeah.
35 grand.
Can we build a new dump?
Yeah.
No, I don't think you can build a new landfill.
We're
I
trying
will-
to rescue it.
Now you're opening up a can of worms.
Well, I can sure look into that one. I have not run across that.
It's time to start again.
We'll have our tipping fees.
I know-
You start
I know a guy that would
evaluating
let
all
you do
that.
I know.
I think we've already got
We can save
listed
a lot
probably
of
10
money.
times what we got
Make
allocated,
some money.
projects that would qualify.
Yeah.
Like
Perfect location.
digitization of records.
Nobody lives there.
That would be for people access, that would fall under.
Potentially to be able
Potentially.
to let
Potentially.
people have better access.
Right, security systems,
I think that one would be tough.
that would be
Integrated phone systems. So,
Man, you're throwing all kinds of new ones at me here. I'm gonna write these down and look into this.
well,
Yeah, we kind of have a little bit of a project list started, but they're really going to be discussing those kind of things a little bit later. Some of it is in relation to communication with potentially like with expanding like radio signal or
Mhm.
those kind of things.
right, like
So-
fire, emergency service radio communications.
Well, some
We've
counties got
talked
off
about
with
that.
building COVID ambulance buildings and things like that.
Yeah.
They put that funds to that, Dickinson County for one.
Yeah.
So
we got an ambulance.
we might have to,
Going.
to.
Like I haven't borrowed for yet,
I'd have to have a COVID ambulance building.
or two.
Well, and then, we've got 12 little cities in our town, our county. So how do we break the money up if we do something for one town, for water? How do we break it up for another town? And so, to be fair with everything.
Yeah, I think that what you would have to have is like a policy to where they have to, like, almost like a grant, submit an application to, like, they say how much they're going to contribute to the project, and then you can add on to that. It's not considered a match per se, but just, and then if you were to transfer to those cities, then there's some guidance about, you know, you have to monitor and make sure they're using the funds. So that's your piece of that compliance, is just making sure that they're using everything properly.
And that's one part of Spark that we didn't end up having to do sub-recipient monitoring and all of that for an extended period of time, and this one we potentially would if we shared those funds with other.
Follow up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would be extensive, I believe.
Yeah, 3 to 5 years.
You can use it for water projects?
Cities can. I mean, actually anybody
counties
can if we have
also.
one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, there is a time between Hillsborough and Peabody that really needs some TLC.
Well, you look at some of the Durham and Lehigh water systems were put in the 60s.
We did have a couple cities in Marion County that did not apply for their funds. The majority did. And really, I know you've got a special work session kind of scheduled, and then moving forward, you'll have additional work sessions where you can kind of nail down some of the project ideas and what's feasible and what isn't, and maybe what else you could look at if something you're thinking about wouldn't qualify. But really, the first reporting period, there's a report due August 31st on these funds. And so I wanted to go ahead and bring the proposal to you as soon as I could once we finished the budget, because if we want the assistance, we would need to approve a proposal and in order to have them assist us with that.
Have them assist us.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So
what-
that's what was in your packet.
Okay.
And they've proposed a 5% fee for the services, which for administrative purposes is,
Yeah.
you know. So anyway, that's what was in your packet. On a 2.308 million, 5% is just over 115,000. And this would be for multi-year type.
And just
Would
full
be for the
disclosure.
whole duration of the
Yeah.
reporting.
Through the whole, even if it was 5 years. And that was the thing, Tina and John and I talked, you know, having to keep up with something for 3 to 5 years on all the regulations is a lot of upkeep. But I will be full disclosure here, there's some counties, and I feel for some of these counties, because the clerk does get overwhelmed with a lot of stuff, okay? But there's some counties that we've talked to, and it's called on demand. And just want to be full disclosure with you here. What they want is, like, if they need help with certain things and they can't handle it themselves, then there would be a charge for that instead of the 5%. There's another one, let's see, there's the on demand, there's another one,
Well, then it's a step up where we do everything.
and we do everything,
Yeah.
yeah. And then one county we have where, I think it's Sumner, is it? Where we did the cities, what we did on Sumner is we took all the funds of the county and the cities.
Well, any city that signed up
Mhm.
as part of a separate engagement with us,
Mhm.
then we kind of ran it through like a decreasing scale. So like once they hit a certain dollar threshold, then everybody in the pool got the reduced rate.
Yeah. Because like City of Wellington and some of those just didn't want to mess with it, and we had helped them a lot in Spark. So there's about three different ways I think we've kind of calculated that, but the most common one is the 5%, just because it's a long-term project. It's not like Spark was 7-8 months, you know, and you're done. And anyway, we wanted to. I mean, if you have any questions on that, we're just trying to cover ourselves, because we're not going to. I mean, you never know with the federal government how much is going to change down the road.
Yeah. Am I understanding that correctly? I'm just still trying to figure that one out, wrap my head around it. If we do go ahead and have a city within the county ask for the assistance, county goes ahead and participates to the extent with these funds, are they in essence kind of a subservient then, in that we are the ones responsible for
No,
their
it's a complete.
compliance?
No, I'm sorry.
Their
With our
compliance.
contract or with theirs?
No, not the contract, just about the funds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no. The cities are reporting directly to the treasury.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have to do that on any portion that we provide to them?
Just the subrecipient monitoring.
Okay.
And the subrecipient monitoring would be under uniform guidance, so like even in regular federal funds where you actually pass it out,
Right.
you would have to do subrecipient monitoring. Spark just got a little bit at the end there, just kind of, well, we won't worry about that this time, but this one has to be
Okay.
monitored, yeah. And you won't have to, I don't know, we were talking, I don't know the dollar amounts for yours, but like, you know, the schools kind of got their own money this time, and the city's got their own money, and you got your own money, and so unless there's some kind of a partnership or, you know, some way you're going together, like Rice County where they're going with their rural water districts and their sewer, and maybe some small cities with their water, then it's really just your money.
So that's where we're saying county needs to come up with its top priorities without consideration for the cities or schools first. And then we kind of work through that matrix.
So we don't have a big countywide committee, we're the committee.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably put them in place, but I think in this case, it's not really needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last one was just an animal. I mean, I don't even know how else to describe it. You know, when you've got that many on a committee and
Was
you're
it
trying
interesting?
Yeah, it was. Anyway, we're just here to answer questions. If you don't have any other questions, I think it would be helpful if you give us a list of your projects, because then we could go and research and to kind of look at them to see if there's any.
Right, and really, there's not, they haven't gotten that far.
Yeah. Mhm.
So.
Yeah. Okay, well, anything else?
Just had one question
Yep.
on your proposal on the billing.
Mhm.
5% total, 10% upfront, and then it said quarterly billing.
I think we're,
Yeah, I think we tweaked that a little bit to be more like a pay-as-you-use.
Okay.
use the
So it's
funds.
like-
Well, that's what
Right.
I, because
So
you're
like
right.
you don't get,
Expenses.
because you don't get your next funds till next year, and then
Right.
you won't spend them. And so I think we're pretty good with that, just as you spend them, that's how we would.
So the 10% upfront was just like, up until you get that, you wouldn't get another bill.
Right.
And then after that, then we bill
Sure.
quarterly.
Oh, it sounds great.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted an idea.
Mhm.
We only asked for the 10% up front because we've already put an incredible amount of time
Sure.
in this, you know, just to keep up the speed here. Not just with yours, but I mean, just, that's more of a statewide.
Absolutely.
So you're saying 10% of the 5% upfront?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which would be,
So-
about 11,500.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I kept seeing 5% quarterly, and I go, oh, man, there's no way.
Yeah.
Okay, we did hunting trip.
I do have one question though, on the administrative fee, that can come out of the rescue money.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if they did go ahead and approve the proposal, would that then be included in the August 31st report? Or would we wait until after the August?
Yeah, see, the August 31st report is actually spending that goes through July 31st.
Okay.
So
And there's another, you could probably speak to this more, we were talking about the other day, like, we're actually gonna have to see if counties can wait till after, is it October 1st?
September 30th.
Yeah.
So we may not send out an invoice until after September 30th, so you have a 0 October report.
Yeah.
Save on another.
Unless they're already spending on other projects.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of what I was wondering, if with the, you know, if the only expense we're gonna have would be the administrative expense, how that timing would be.
Right.
So.
Mhm.
Has this money showed up yet?
Yes, I applied for, we have our first half, I did apply for it.
1.1? 1.15?
It's in the bank.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're aware of this, but this can actually be in an interest-bearing account, and that interest is pretty much, can be used for anything.
Interest is so much now.
Oh,
Yeah,
Those bankers really let go of it.
Yeah, those are not charges.
Right there.
And I don't know how the treasurer has this set up, so I'll talk with her about that.
Okay.
Is there any main ideas besides what you've said today? I mean, are you seeing anybody going off the wall and doing something completely different?
What was Greeley? What'd they do? Because the reason I'm asking is because they have a health department that rents spaces, and Greeley County, which is a very small county, what was their money they got? They was like 400,000 or something. But they were.
So what happened there was they had a contract with their school. I think they only have 1 or 2 schools in the entire county, but they had a contract with the school district to provide a health nurse. But they had so much need just at the health department that they said we can't supply this contract. But they were leasing space from the school, and when they canceled the contract with the health nurse, the school canceled the contract for the buildings. And so, so then they decided to actually were looking to purchase a building and like make it almost like a drive-through vaccination center, just outsource health department.
Listen,
Yeah.
listen, commission.
Yeah. So.
You got Circle Drive back there.
That's exactly what.
So when that came through, we've done quite a bit of research on that. It's a little gray, but I just thought of that when.
So the main things that you have to watch for there is this the best alternative with the funds available? Like, could we go and do this same project in a lease? Could we go find a cheaper building? But as long as you explore those options and then you document that you found that this seems to be the most cost reasonable and it seems like it fits the allowability criteria, then we just document what your rationale was and it should be fine.
One question I haven't asked him this yet, so I'm gonna put him on the spot a little bit, but, so like, one of the things we talked about is a multi-purpose building.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was thinking about, if you had a really, like a dividing line down the middle of the building, and you built an entire building, and 50% of it was the health department, and 50% was all these other offices that you wanted to get in there, and as long as we documented that, you know, I don't know, I was just thinking about this when that came through the other day on the email, and then when we talked again about it, oh, okay, maybe that would work. So there's some things there that might work where if that $100,000 payment is in the general fund for a lease purchase, maybe half the building can get paid for if you decide to do that out of these funds, and then all you have is the other half as the lease purchase, and that's really affordable compared to what we were talking about. So that would be something that we could probably do a little research on and see. And I don't know what that would mean, as you know, because you don't want them to say, oh well, you're putting up the whole building, and you know, what do you know, you'd almost have to have the contractor almost, you know, some way making sure it's very clear.
If the determination was wrong, though, we've got your malpractice coverage. It'll take care of that, right?
Sure.
It's a question I always get asked.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for showing up.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, no problem.
And, we've got that coming up. We've got to get rolling on it the way it sounds.
I would love it if you would be ready soon, like today or
Make a
maybe
motion
next
to
week
approve
to approve the engagement, if that's the way the board wants to go.
I have a motion to approve the engagement.
I have a motion on the floor to approve the engagement with Scott. This is Scott Lloyd again?
Swindle, Jansen.
It's just with Scott.
Somebody.
Just with Scott.
Scott didn't know anything. You may want to put a
Second,
John.
I have a second by Kent Becker on that motion. Do I hear any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you. Wow. Appreciate that.
Sign something. I wrote it on my copy, so.
Great.
Is that fast enough?
Thank you.
That is great. That is great.
Went back with the order today.
You what?
Went back with the order today.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was
yeah,
just
like
gonna hold out for
silver, yeah.
suspense, really. I was gonna wait till they got their back out the door
Yeah.
and then stay it, and then.
Do you
Here we
see
go
where to
again.
sign? I'm sorry, I didn't mark it.
Yeah, but there's 3 county commissions.
Oh, yeah.
I think what's cool, I really saw it in Spark, you know, I mean, you saw it, you that have been on the commission for a while, when you have 2 counties, it's really cool because you can kind of figure it out, but when you have 17 counties, you know, back in Spark, you really almost get everything thrown at you that possibly could be thrown at you. And that's what's gonna happen, just like that Greeley thing, I would have never thought about Greeley, but John didn't know Greeley, but I knew what you were doing on the health department over here, and I just thought, oh, okay, that might be something we could do. So it's really cool when you collaborate like that with all these different counties, and I think we'll end up, I personally think we'll end up with more than 17, because I think what's happened is everybody wanted to get through the budget, you know. Ellis County even called us. They didn't even really want to help much last time, but we may have to help with them more on eligibility. That's going to be the biggest thing here is what is eligible and what's not. And here's a project, let's throw it against the wall, will this work? And so that's why I think there'll be more, because that's going to be a eligibility reporting and documentation to make sure that the things are put in place.
Can you send us to blueprint on the drive-through?
I'm
serious.
Hey, is
Yeah.
architectural fees included in that too? Is that all covered?
Yeah, I think.
I don't know, we probably,
Yeah.
No, we'd like to see.
No, they will
what
allow
the
the
design
engineering
is.
costs on
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Just hey, still on it. I'm gonna
So
ask
the-
a serious question.
Yeah, the cities that turned down the funds, did they actually decline them? Like they went on the website and declined them?
I don't think so.
Okay.
There might be a little grace period there is what we're hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like they might have extended the deadline past the 26th, so
That
if
would
they
be
want to
great.
reconsider, I mean, most of these smaller towns that we're working with, or we're not actually working with them, but just inside the counties, I don't think they were aware they could use it for water and sewer, and those are big expenses to the city, so.
But it's all got to be new stuff, right?
No.
It can't be stuff that
There is probably 40 pages of projects that you could do with those funds, and there's a lot of things that I would have been like,
Well,
I have no idea what this is.
I mean, if you just completed a water project and then you've got a bond payment on it, there's no way you could.
for that.
What was the date on this one? March? You told me that March.
March
It's,
3rd,
it's,
I think,
add to it.
2021.
So if the contract was entered into before March 3rd, 2021, you wouldn't be able to do it. But if it's after that, it sounds like it would be eligible.
And we have had one rural water district contact us.
Yeah.
So that's information I haven't shared with you yet because we've got a work session coming up, but.
Like one small town is doing they're actually digging another well for their town. I've seen a lot of different things thrown out.
It's interesting what you said though, Scott, about Main Street, Canton.
Or Galva.
Peabody has, this last year has had at least, over the last year has had at least 5 or 6 leaks in one block and a half of Main Street. And, if they could just put together a little project to get that Main Street done through the main part of town.
Yeah, start with your main infrastructure there.
The main infrastructure there, then they could do their road, then and the road's gonna need it before long and stuff, but if, that needs to be.
And let me throw something else out there. They did say that if you, basically have to dig up your road or your sidewalk to repair the sewer, you can pay for the cost of this sidewalk repair or street repair too.
So I'm gonna talk to Galva. We're gonna get that other side of Main Street done. But if you think about this, Kent brought up a good point. Most of these infrastructure for water lines were put in the 50s and 60s, and they do not make money in cities. I mean, when I do a budget in a city, it's always a loss leader. Electric, if they have electric or gas, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sewer and water are loss leaders. And so anything they can do to help with those, I know that's probably one reason they did, because clean drinking water is very important. Now, Mayor Ford, which I don't know if any of you knew him, but he was there 42 years as mayor in Galva, and I went down there and we had trouble with the water wells, and that may be some way we use some of the money too, but they were all but one shut down, and he goes, well, just go home and tell your wife that she can go get bottled water, and she can go to the laundromat to do all of her laundry. It shouldn't be a problem. Water is I mean,
Number one.
Yeah. But appreciate your time. I appreciate. I get my
Nice to meet you too.
Me too.
Part of this firm, so.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fancy.
Yeah, they were pretty fancy. It wasn't signed. Do you want me to take anything back?
I'll attest it
Yeah,
and then
okay.
I'll send it to you if that's okay.
Well, I was trying to get this done.
I don't want to leave without
Don't
it.
want to let it slip between the cracks there.
That's right. John really has done a great job. John is see, you're a tax side, you're certified financial planner, on the wealth management side, and he's in government. And with me, and but one thing that's great about John, like all these, like what, 100, you probably already read the 138 or however many pages that is in the Treasury regulations. And one thing about it, he's got this amazing memory. I read something, I can't remember what the page said, but it's really cool how God put together this team, because John and Julie used to be the CFO of the refinery in McPherson, and she works for us out of Owasso, Oklahoma. And she kind of is over the program to help us kind of make sure administrative. So it's been kind of fun. It's different people coming together, and
Just a different section of the code.
So he knows
Tax
the
code.
regulations.
Yep.
I'll just make a copy and then you can take it with you.
oh, well, thank you. See,
You're around long enough, it works out.
I was bragging on you there tonight at a ball game.
Where's it
Yeah.
been?
To one of your salespeople. Yeah. Thanks, salespeople.
At the wind surge?
Yeah.
At the wind surge game?
Yeah. No, not one search game. That would be at the.
He's watching for his grandkids probably.
Yeah. Mhm, yeah.
What Dale does every weekend.
Yeah.
Travels.
Travels. Yeah. Anyway, we'll go around, but let's go through
You
your
guys.
card. Get my card. Yep. Thank you, John.
She'll be right back.
You what?
She'll be right back.
But as you, like if you, for example, it's really easy to pop on Zoom. I mean, that's one thing Spark showed us, okay? So like if you were in that meeting and you're wanting to go through your list, and if you could get the list ahead of time, or maybe the second meeting, and you're wanting to go, okay, let's do a rating system here, or something, and let's see which, how we would rate this. We could, John or I, either one could hop on real quick and just help, talk through that. So we're available however we can use, okay?
And then our associate Carlotta, she's
Yeah.
really dug in also.
Yeah, she has it.
Would anybody like a card? I brought a card. You need to email me.
Thank you. Give one to that lady down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll forgo mine.
Okay.
What's in that extras?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sorry we spelled your
Thank you,
name
guys.
wrong.
See ya.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay, have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Probably 15.
Oh. Well, I felt bad, Brad. I tried cutting you off last week. Not to this week. I'm gonna get you on board. So, looks like we've got everything, I think, taken care of above here. Broadband, executive session for Road Bridge. I think we're down to Brad here. West Tina, do you got anything?
Not that I can think of
Okay.
now.
Got any public comments? Or you wanna go? Yeah, that'd be fine too. Knock it out. I don't think I see any public, but. Any public on the line? We would go to the public comments if anybody had anything.
Yeah, the ones that were there all dropped out.
All board and left.
Yep.
All right. So Brad, let's go ahead and get 15 minutes for what?
Attorney-client privilege.
Start cleaning up here.
I can catch all of your contract negotiations.
Contract negotiations. Move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss contract negotiations pursuant to KSA 75-4319B for consultation with our attorney and attorney deemed privilege under attorney-client privilege. With the board, Tina.
And she wanted to
Just
be
the
on this
board
one.
and Brad, they'll be the only ones for 15 minutes. That will be from 2:50, let's make it even, 2:55 to, 2:55 to 3:10. Do I hear a second? Second. All those in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. 5-0. Are we?
We're on.
Not yet.
Not yet.
This conference will now be recorded.
Out of executive session, we have a settlement agreement with an L, settlement agreement and release
with the now Green Power Diamond Vista Wind Project. This is, we need to sign it, send it to them, so, correct?
Yes.
Need a motion to vote to approve?
Right, and the motion for approval needs to be contingent upon receipt of the full balance noted in the agreement. So that the receipt of the full balance noted in the agreement. In other words, we're not releasing them from anything until the money's in our hand. But you're approving this for purposes of distribution once it's received.
Okay. And they've also signed.
Right.
So this agreement here would be the consideration of the release set forth Diamond Vista hereby agrees to pay the county $433,720 even for the road repairs and stuff that's damage of the wind project that was decided on. Once we sign this, we would send it to them, and then they would have to sign and make sure they give us a copy back. Then with the paycheck, then that's closed out. Is that correct, Brad?
That is correct.
Reimbursement.
The reimbursement. Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I would make the motion to approve
Okay.
settlement agreement release,
Okay.
contingent upon their signature and our payment.
Okay. I will second that. Any other conversation before we vote? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5, unanimous, so 5-0. Sign it, which one?
Any one of them is fine. I've got another pristine one if we need it. I give it to Tina.
Yeah, I'll start this one.
Okay.
There's one thing on the back of it, I don't understand what that is, the back of it. This one.
I'll pull that up. That was the way to track the changes that have been made
Okay.
between them and I.
Okay.
And it's kind of handy to keep that.
Do you need
and
more
I
than
just-
one, do you need two?
It wouldn't hurt if we did two, just in case. That way we've got an original in our file.
Always good to have it in the office. Not the house pass.
No.
Oh, no. I know, every time you open that drawer. Yeah.
All right. Brad, do you have anything else?
No, not today.
Okay, we've got one final thing, commission comments. Does anybody have one today? Dave?
The engineers coming Wednesday, they're looking at the dam, Isaac said.
Okay.
And they're supposed to be taking the heated dock out of the water this week.
Okay.
And then when they get done with that, they're gonna move over to Hillsborough, level the land for the new ambulance place. EMS building.
City was already stripping the topsoil off
Okay.
today, this morning.
Do we have the deed or contract yet?
No.
We were on-
I followed up with the city of Hillsborough, And they were looking at setting a closing date. And I think that the 45 days in the agreement that we signed, if I counted right, I think that's up on the 23rd. So it should be potentially next week or on or before the 23rd, unless I didn't count the days right. So,
Cody's planning on starting that next week.
but he said he would get back to me on what the closing date would
The
be.
city was level.
They were stripping the topsoil.
Stripping the topsoil and stuff.
They want to save it.
Well, I think they're gonna keep back half and take half somewhere else. Last I caught passing.
Well, so they don't have to pile on the rest of the ground somewhere. Okay. Anybody else? I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you.
That's a good reading.
Take home.
I'm gonna